If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 21, Wall Monster. Continuation. A week later. Hachiman's POV. Unfortunately, Tota. Wait. Was I actually about to say today? Scratch that. I mean, when was the last time I had a stroke of luck? My bad. It seems I was deluding myself for a moment there. Now, where was I again? Oh, right, just like any other day in the clutches of my ill-fated existence, today happened to be gym class. Normally, our gym activities are decided based on months. Different months mean different activities. In our school, the gym is held jointly with 3 different classes, and the 60 boys in our group were assigned to one of 2 activities. Previous month, we had the choice between volleyball and track, but starting this month, we were given the options of tennis or soccer. Ironically, it appeared that an overwhelming number of students had taken a liking to tennis this year. Consequently, it led to a nail-biting round of rock-paper-scissors. I found myself fortunate enough to be part of the tennis group. However, poor Zamokusa was reluctantly sent back to the soccer group. In this manner, my one and only gym partner, Zamokusa, was cruelly snatched away from me, shattering our flawless duo. It left me with no choice but to play tennis solo. You might be wondering how one can possibly play a 2-player game like tennis all alone, but trust me, there's nothing spectacular about playing against an NPC, in this case, a wall. Still, being picked in the tennis group made my task of spending my gym time alone more easy. Otherwise, I would have no choice but to involve myself in a multiplayer offline game like soccer. Nonetheless, unlocking the privilege of playing tennis solo is no ordinary effort. After meticulously analyzing various scenarios, I confronted a mid-level boss, our gym coach, risking my school life in the process of drawing solo tennis as a reward. My first step was to activate the hidden quest, for which I had to use the keyword "I'm not feeling so well right now." Then, to land a critical hit, I had to portray myself as a considerate person by saying I don't want to cause anybody else any trouble. Finally, I had to make a tactical retreat at my maximum speed using the phrase "So, can I just play by myself off the wall?" Ding! And the reward achieved. Well, that's how I ended up here, engaged in a game of tennis all by myself. As I tirelessly pursued the ball, returning it to the wall, I repeated this monotonous cycle over and over again. Time slipped away as I continued this mundane activity. And as I wholeheartedly immersed myself in the battle against my opponent, the formidable wall monster, who has infinite HP, stamina, and defense, I gotta say nothing about this match fair. But in between my intense match, no matter how much I tried to ignore the boisterous shouts from around me, the other boys engaged in tennis rallies reached my ears again and again, causing me to lose my concentration every now and then. Uriyaha. Ah. That was a good shot, wasn't it? That was amazing, wasn't it? That was great. No way anybody else could have hit that. Awesome. Their shouting suggested that they were definitely having fun during their free practice session. Without even glancing back, I could say with absolute certainty that it was Hayato and his party of underlings. But really, this had nothing to do with me. The only reason I even acknowledge their existence is because they are insanely noisy. Mindset of all this, a ball flew past over my head, just a couple of inches away. In the next moment, a rather unapologetic voice chimed in. "Ah, sorry, my bad. Hi? Hikitani, could you get that ball? Hey, isn't he the same guy, talking to himself in the lunch break loudly?" Some random guy muttered. "Who the hell is Hikitani?" I looked at the gang of shrimps, and all of them looked back at me with the same eyes. No. Not the ones that look down on others. I am already used to those types, to the point where I don't give a damn. Their eyes are different. Filled with anticipation and obviousness. None of them seemed the least bit concerned about whether I was willing to pass on the ball or not. At this moment, I had one burning question: in what way was I obligated to assist them? The answer was simple: I had no obligation. These were the same individuals who had never lifted a finger to help me in the past, and I doubted they ever would in the future. Some of them, or perhaps most, didn't even know my name. In this situation, I have 2 choices. Ignore them. Give them a hand. If I went with the first option, a very funny scenario would be taking place. I would instantly be cast as the villain, and for a very peculiar reason at that too, and that's what I hate most about this situation I am in now. Hey, don't get me wrong, I don't mind helping an elderly person cross a road, or even a beautiful woman who is stuck in a pinch, or even rescuing a cat stuck in a tree. I am willing to do all these acts of kindness without expecting anything in return, purely out of my own volition. However, in this case, I felt compelled to help, and that was what I hate. Again. Well, anyway, keeping aside my personal feelings, I am going with the second option. What? I have no intention of making enemies of the entire Hayato and gang. At the very least, for the time being, I don't want to get in bad shoes with Hayato alone. As for his gang, just go and die, for all I care. The rationale is quite straightforward. I have a favorable impression of Hayato, and I know he's a good guy. Let's not forget his assistance in subduing tense situations caused by the little stunt I pulled during lunch break. There's another factor to consider, albeit a smaller one. His family has connections with Yukinoshita. So, I figure it's best to play it safe. Who knows? He might prove useful in the distant future. As I took my sweet time, pondering for a full 20.69 seconds on whether to return the ball or not, a few impatient looks could already be seen on their faces. So, with that being decided, I grabbed the ball that was rolled towards me, but instead of immediately tossing it back, I approached Hayato. Getting near him, I extended my hand, offering him the ball. Although the surprise in his face was evident, he took the lead, reaching for the ball in my hand. Thanks. Hayato gave me a cheerful smile and waved at me. In response, I gave him a small nod. Yet, no mention. But Hayato, it is not Hakatani. It is Hikigaya. So, yet, I would prefer that. Oh, my apologies for the mix-up. I will make sure to correct that. Hayato replied understandingly. And one more thing, do me a favor and tell the same thing to that black hairband too. Anyway, thanks for the help. With that I went my way. Chapter 22, Totsuka Saika. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. It was lunch break. And thankfully the weather was sunny this time. So, I was eating lunch in my usual spot. My dining base was on the first floor of the special building, to the side of the nurse's office and diagonally behind the cafeteria. I leisurely ate the hot dog, tuna onigiri, and Neapolitan roll I had bought from the cafeteria. It was a peaceful moment. All the while, a rhythmic drumming sound lured me to sleep. As the lunch break was about to end, I sucked some lemon tea out of its pack through a straw and felt the wind blow. Flee-oo. The wind's direction had changed. My school is situated near the coast, and because of that, the wind starts to change around noon. In the morning, the salty sea breeze blows in, and as though returning to where it came, it blows back to sea. I sounded like a weather reporter, didn't I? Anyhow, spending some time alone and just feeling that wind on my skin wasn't a bad thing at all. I like it. Hey? Hiki, is that you? That same wind carried a familiar voice to my ears. When I turned around, I saw Yuagahama standing there. Whatcha doin' over here? I usually eat here. I replied in a lackluster manner. Really? Why? Wouldn't it be better to just eat in the classroom? No. It wouldn't. Is this girl inherently oblivious, or is she intentionally ignoring my principles? I mean, why would I ever eat in the classroom, of all places, under the watchful eyes of so many hostile beings? However, being the wise man I have always been, I chose to keep my thoughts to myself and proceeded. More importantly, why are you here? Yuagahama plopped herself down next to me and said. Oh that, well, you see, I lost a game of rock-paper-scissors with Yukino, so. This is my punishment. So, I assume you are on your way to this so-called punishment? I guessed. She confirmed with a shrug. Yeah, I am on my way to the vending machine. The loser had to go buy juice. A small smile tugged at the corners of her lips as she added. At first, Yukino was all like, I can provide my own food. What do I stand to gain, aside from winning a trivial competition? That was her trying to get out of it. Keeping aside your failure to imitate her, yeah, that sounds like her. I agreed. Yeah, but then I said, so you don't think you can win? Then she agreed to play. The same tactic Ms. Hirotsuka used, hey? Asterisk chuckle, now, that's totally Yukinoshita, All right. I let out a chuckle, recognizing Yukinoshita's signature stubbornness. I added. I bet she might have even pumped her fists a bit when she won. It's quite funny how she can sometimes get so worked up over such trivial matters. It was no different when Ms. Hirotsuka used the same old trick to persuade her to join our club competition. However, I never would have guessed Uegahama had it in her to do the same. You're right, Hiki. Uegahama exclaimed. Right? About what, though? She really pumped her fists. She then let out a happy sigh. Wait. She really did. I acted surprised. Uegahama nodded eagerly. Nod, it was really cute, you know. Indeed, I guess. She definitely would be. And that's how you ended up owing her a drink. I confirmed. Oh, well, I have done this with the girls before, but this is the first time I thought punishment was any fun. Hearing that allowed me to suddenly remember. Near the end of lunch breaks, there was always an idiotically noisy corner of the room shouting about rock paper scissors. And honestly, if you ask me, it is just a roundabout way to make someone else do their work. That's why. TCH, I hate these freaking in-games. Hey, come on. Don't tell me you don't like friend groups. Uegahama. Obviously. I don't like in-games, and in-jokes. But I do like some in-fights. That's because I am not part of any of the in-crap. And it is entertaining to watch. I explained. Not only is that a sad reason, but you sound completely petty. Uegahama smiled as she held her hair, preventing the wind from blowing it away. That expression was different from the one I usually saw when she was with Yumiko Miura and the others in the classroom. But really, I think you and Yukinon sound like an in-group when you are talking with each other. Sometimes I have a hard time getting into your conversation. As Uegahama stated, she hugged her knees and buried her face in them. In-group, hey? Do we look like that to Uegahama? That's new. Although she might be right. Even though Yukinoshita won't be adamant about agreeing to it, I do think there is some kind of unspoken bond between us. Whatever it might be. I also realized Uegahama really likes being around Yukinoshita, hey? I could smell the jealousy oozing out of her. She won't get in my way, right? Uegahama continued glancing sideways at me. You know, 'cause maybe I want to join in on those talks too. It's not like I mean that in a weird way, okay? When I say that I mean Yukinon too, okay? You got that? She likes being around me too, I guess. Well, I have no condemnation for not being friends with Uegahama. However, that's where it ends. Have no fear. I will never have that sort of misunderstanding when it comes to you. I assured her. There is nothing between us, and there never will be. And I believe that's how it should be. What's that supposed to mean? Uegahama lifted up her head, looking pretty pissed. Her expression was similar to that of Ms. Hirotsuka, who was about to launch her attack. Hold on, calm down. I restrained her with my hands and spoke up. I stated. Well, Yukinoshita is an anomaly. She is just a force of nature. I can't break out. What do you mean? She stooped. It means, unable to be avoided. Sorry for using big words there. I forgot to consider your IQ level. No. Uegahama's voice rose in frustration. I know what that means, ugh. You know, you insult me way too much. I took the entrance exam and got into Subuhai just like you, all right. She sent a quick chop right in my next direction. Then suddenly, Uegahama stared off into the distance and asked me a question, sounding serious. Hey, speaking of IQ levels. Your scores from last year are very high. I mean, they are on the level of top students. I was really surprised, Hiki. You never look like the smart type. I shrugged nonchalantly. Nothing to be surprised about. I got into a small accident somewhere in the middle of my first year and had to spend the remaining year on rehabilitation. Since I had nothing else to do during that time, all I did was play games and study. An accident? Uegahama's voice softened. Yeah. I confirmed. I was on the way to school, pedaling my bike, when someone's dog got off its leash and almost got run over by a car, just before I pulled it away safely. However, I ended up with a fracture. Uegahama's face stiffened. Someone, hey. She repeated quietly, her eyes downcast. So, Hiki doesn't remember who that person was at all. Well, not entirely. Kamiki did say that she visited me at home after I was discharged from the hospital. However, we couldn't meet since I was sleeping. Hey! Girl, Uegahama. Didn't I mention that? Apparently the owner of the dog is a girl. At least you know she is a girl. But Hiki, do you want to meet that girl in the future? Uegahama. This damned girl. Why don't you just outright admit that it's you now? Actually, I really doubt it is necessary. The look on her face pretty much says it all. Nat, I don't want to. Why? Uegahama. Because you are right in front of me. Uegahama, you sure are suddenly interested in that girl. Hey. And no, it's you. You. Why yet, I am asking because you sound interested in that girl. Uegahama. Couldn't you find any better reason to push the blame on me? Who, Uegahama? Hey. Ui. Just then, someone called out in our direction, coming out from the tennis courts while wiping off their sweat. In response, we both turned towards the voice. Uegahama got up and waved her hands in return. Oh, it's Sai. Well, Uegahama. I will be heading back. You go ahead. I declared, taking up my stuff. Uegahama turned back towards me, seemingly puzzled. Wait, Hiki. Sai is from our class. You don't have to leave. Getting from my place, I said. I know. But I need to get myself a drink too. I walked off, adding. Anyways, don't make Yukinoshita wait too long. Hey? Ah. A sudden burst of realization hit Uegahama. Yep. She totally forgot. As I walked away, I cast one final glance at Uegahama and Sai. Or Totsuka Saika. I had a few seconds of conversation with him from time to time. Well, it was mostly him greeting and me responding. When someone extends a greeting, even if they are an adversary, one should respond in kind. In any case, this Totsuka Saika is a rather peculiar individual. Despite knowing that he's a male character from the series, I still find myself having doubts. However, that wasn't the main reason why I chose to ignore him so blatantly today. It was more because I wanted to avoid getting entangled in his storyline, especially the whole tennis match with Hayato and the bi***shy queen. But looking at Uegahama, I doubt that is happening. Well, it's just gonna be another pain in the **s and disturbance to my peaceful solitude. Chapter 23, Advice. Continuation. Next day. Service Club. Hachiman's POV. Sigh. With a heavy sigh, Yukinoshita closed her small book and looked at me with an intense gaze. Her eyes seemed to hold a mix of emotions, annoyance, frustration, and maybe even a hint of amusement. Hikigaya, I have been told countless times that I am an attractive girl. So I know the fault lies in me being born with such beauty, and I am willing to accept that, but could you please show some restraint and stop staring at me with those repulsive eyes? Her words were delivered with confidence dripping from each syllable. I couldn't help but wonder, Yukinoshita, where does this abundance of confidence come from? Is it a natural trait that people like her have? So, stop ogling at me with that squeamish look. She continued. I get what you are saying, but aren't you being too disrespectful? Especially for someone asking for a favor. I replied, playing along with her sarcastic tone. I added. And, for your information, I was looking outside. You just happened to be in my line of sight. She raised an eyebrow skeptically. Can you come up with a better excuse? That wasn't an excuse. It's the truth. I defended myself, though it was only half true. Sure, I had been enjoying the view outside while also appreciating her presence simultaneously, but perhaps the latter a little more than the former. It was, indeed, a delightful sight. Yukinoshita, not willing to battle out with me anymore, delved back into her own world, immersing herself in her book. As I refrained from further admiring the beauty before me. Such a shame. A few minutes passed by as my body was totally in a relaxed position, sitting on the chair without a care in the world. Then, with the same relaxed posture and closed eyes, I asked her, leaning back on the chair without even looking at her. Yukinoshita, could you give me a word of advice? A sudden request popped out of my mouth and took Yukinoshita by surprise. Well, that's to be expected. This time, she closed her book again and looked at me with her complete attention. Well, not complete, but definitely more than she usually shows. What is it? She asked. God, she is really hearing me out without a round of back and forth mocking. It's about Yukigahama. I said it with a dry tone, and my posture was a lot more decent than before. The moment Yukinoshita heard my words, a look of disappointment took over her face, then it turned neutral. No, it was not neutral. It was the look that says it's Hikigaya we are talking about, which then shifted to disappointment, but with a hint of self-loathing this time. What the hell? What did I do to elicit such a range of emotions from her? You never cease to disappoint me in terms of disappointment, Hikigaya. Yukinoshita muttered, looking away from me. What's that supposed to mean? I inquired. I am disappointed in myself for being disappointed by someone like you. Not explain the point, she went on with her disappointment. Ouch, that was mean. Like, super mean. What is this sh*t about disappointing and all? Just how in the world did the topic shift to that? I added bitterly. Forget it. I shouldn't have asked for help from you. Yukigahama is a kind and gentle girl. Yukinoshita suddenly spoke up. Then, turning towards me, she continued. She is also pretty and the sort of person who doesn't want to injure someone, willing or unaware. Because of this, maybe she felt sympathetic to your pathetic loner existence and chose to pity you by acting a bit closer and nicer to make you feel better. However, I interrupted. Stop it. Stop it. What's all this got to do with me? I don't get it. I asked seriously, not understanding her intentions. Sigh, I intentionally went off topic to come across as a considerate person. Yukinoshita spoke as she rose from her chair. She continued walking a few steps in my direction. However, it seems that ignorant brain of yours is unable to comprehend my reasoning, leaving me no choice but to break it out to you the hard way. Yukigahama was nice to you because she is a nice girl. Not because she likes you or anything else. Wait. Is this what she's talking about? The moment she finished her breaking down, I put all the pieces together. I know Yukinoshita did not view me in high regard, but this is definitely crossing the line. So that stuff up until now was you imagining I liked Yukigahama and asking you for advice. I sought clarification. Is it not? Yukinoshita. Of course not. What do you think of me? Do you think my heart is so soft? Be aware that I am a veteran. I would never fall for a girl just because she is nice to me. I was disappointed in her understanding of me. Never. Actually, I demand an apology. Never, hey. Ignoring my demands, Yukinoshita repeated my words. I sensed a subtle easing of her agitation beneath the composed facade, an aspect of which she may not have been fully aware herself. Or maybe I was just reading too into it. She inquired, then returned to her usual self. So what do you want advice on in regards to Yukigahama? My mind scrambled to come up with a plausible explanation. You see, it was like this. A long time ago. I mean, not too long. Somewhere in the middle of our first year. I happened to help Yukigahama when she was in a pinch and ended up getting injured in the process. However, only recently, I have come to know it was she who I helped. But Yukigahama seems to know it was me. I also agree with what you said about Yukigahama simply being nice to me because she is a nice girl. However, I might be wrong, but I think she has a subconscious guilt within her, making her feel indebted to me, and well, you know, being unnecessarily extra nice. Initially, I wanted to confront her directly and ask her to stop with excessive niceness if it was coming from a place of guilt. But now, I am not so sure anymore. Why is that? Yukinoshita. Don't pretend like you don't understand the situation. Whether or not what she's doing has anything to do with me helping her, confronting her won't go smoothly. It could make things awkward between us, and even affect the club. Why would it matter to the club when she isn't even a member? And more than anything, when did you start to care so much about the club? Yukinoshita. Isn't it too late to say she isn't a member now, and hey, I was being serious when I said I was going to be the club vice president. I continued. And besides, the club was not the only thing I was worried about. There is you too. Me? Where did that come from? Yukinoshita. You are alone *ahem, I mean, you don't have a lot of friends, right? You and Yukigahama seem to get along well, too. I don't want that to be spoiled because of me. Hikigaya. Yukinoshita. Bang. Door open. Without warning, the door to the clubroom burst open with a loud bang, interrupting Yukinoshita's mid-sentence and stopping our intense conversation in its tracks. Hyo. Then came the voice of the person in discussion of our current topic. 1. Chapter 24, Second Quest. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. Hikigaya, Yukinoshita. Bang. Without warning, the door to the clubroom burst open with a loud bang, interrupting Yukinoshita's mid-sentence and stopping our intense conversation in its tracks. Hyo. Then came the voice of the person in discussion of our current topic. Yukinoshita entered with a happy-go-lucky and screwed-in-the-head greeting, in complete contrast to the room's atmosphere. Man, I envy her carefree attitude so much. However, behind her was Totsuka Saika, who greeted me. Ah, Hikigaya. It seems like some things cannot be avoided. Well, it's not like I could say I gave it my best shot either. All I did was walk out when he greeted Yukinoshita, evading our conversation. And when he invited me to join the tennis club a few days ago, I politely declined by saying that I was already in another club, which surprised the other party, and he even apologized for making such a request, making me feel a little bad. However, nothing can be done, as the present me had no intention of quitting the service club. So I was already half expecting this. I mean, the person involved in this whole incident is Yukinoshita. Someone who can't be underestimated. Since it was him coming to my base, I greeted. Totsuka. Hikigaya. Is this the club you talked about? Totsuka inquired, looking around with curiosity. Yes. I am the vice president of this club. I made sure to add my title in a slightly forced manner, even though it was unnecessary. No wonder you didn't want to join our club. Totsuka nodded in acknowledgement. Thanks for understanding. I smiled, pleased by his reaction. Anyway, what brought you here? I brought a new customer with me today, Fufu. Yukinoshita interjected proudly. What customer? I inquired. Hey, come on, I am a part of this club too, you know? So I thought I would earn my keep. And Sai looked like he had something on his mind, so I brought him here. Yukinoshita explained with a grin. Yukinoshita. Yukinoshita's calm voice cut through the cheerful atmosphere. Yukinon, you really don't have to thank me. As a club member, this is the least I can do, Yukinoshita. Yukinoshita, I really don't see how you are a club member, Yukinoshita. I am not. Yukinoshita exclaimed in surprise and disbelief. That's right. You never handed in your application letter, and our advisor has not officially recognized your membership. So technically, you are not a club member. Yukinoshita was pointlessly strict with the rules. It is true, Yukinoshita. Even I, who was taking the vice president position, had to go through it. I muttered with a defeated tone. You should have said it long before, Hiki. Anyway, I will write one. If you want an application letter, then I will write you 1,000,000. Just let me join up. Yukinoshita had tears in her eyes as she took a piece of loose leaf and began to write. So, Totsuka Saika. Right? What do you want from us? Yukinoshita ignored the hastily writing Yukinoshita, and turned towards him. Totsuka began to shake as he was pinned in place by Yukinoshita's cold stare. I want to make the tennis team better, I guess. Totsuka was looking at Yukinoshita at first, but as the sentence progressed, he slowly turned to look towards me. He was shorter than I was, so he was looking up at me as he tried to gauge my reaction. Yukinoshita clarified. I don't know what Yukinoshita told you, but the service club is not some miracle cure-all. We are here solely to assist and promote independence. Whether the tennis team gets better or not completely depends on you. I see. Totsuka's shoulders dropped. He looked completely disappointed. Yukinoshita must have told him something to get his hopes up, also leaving a bitter taste in my mouth, seeing such an unusual side of an always spirited, sincere, and positive fellow. Looks like we will have to help him in the end, won't we? Don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against Totsuka Sai, apart from his few unusual characteristics. My main reason for avoiding him is my desire to steer clear of Hayato and his gang once more. 1. Nonetheless, there is no denying that I am purposely trying to keep some distance between Totsuka and me. Where's that seal, where's that seal? Yukinoshita muttered as she began to rummage through her bag. Maybe Yukinoshita came to a similar understanding and glared at Yukigahama, and as she felt her stare, she looked up. Hey? What is it? Don't give me that. You made irresponsible false promises, and now we have to break this young man's fragile hopes and dreams. Yukinoshita threw merciless words at Yukigahama, but she just cocked her head in puzzlement. But, I mean, I thought Yukinon and Hiki would definitely be able to do something. Was I wrong? Yukigahama said so in a completely nonchalant tone. Depending on how you took that statement, you could almost hear a bit of a teasing challenge in it too. And, unfortunately, there was someone here who would take it just that way. Just the perfect words to make Yukinoshita Yukino agree. Next day. Hachiman's POV. After Yukinoshita accepted Totsuka's request, she went on and prepared a hellish training schedule beginning today, which I am somehow part of. Our school jersey was fluorescent light blue, and it stood out a lot. The almost impressively unfashionable color scheme made every student hate those uniforms, so they never wore them except during gym or sports practices. So, everyone else wore their normal uniforms, and I was the only one there, standing out like an idiot in my jersey. Nonetheless, as it was part of the quest, I left with no escape route, so I proceeded to change into my jersey and headed for the tennis courts. As I stepped out of the dressing room, two individuals with completely contrasting compatibility were visible together. Zamokusa. Was it? Totsuka asked. Zamokusa, who still seemed at a bit of a loss in astonishment, finally gave a nod. Oh yeah. I am not alone in this quest. Zamokusa is with me too. And as for the reason? Well, it's really simple. I can't be the only one suffering now, can I? You get what I am implying, right? If not, don't worry, you will know soon enough. If you are Hikigaya's friend, then maybe we could be friends too? That would make me happy. I don't have many guy friends. Totsuka said that and gave a shy smile. Fu, ku. Indeed, Hachiman and I are close friends. No, we are comrades. No, I am the master and he is the slave, Zamokusa. Well, when you put it like that, then I suppose I have no choice. I will, grace you with my friendship. We could even be lovers. Zamokusa, who still couldn't digest the world-ending truth according to him, mumbled like a madman. He looked more broken than when I gave him the review list. I don't think that's a good idea. Let's just stick with friendship. Totsuka. I see. Hey, Hachiman. You think this one here likes me? Does that mean I am getting popular now? It does, right? Zamokusa quickly drew close to me and whispered into my ear. No. If you are wondering why Zamokusa misunderstood that Totsuka is a girl, then it's false. The hard truth, according to him, was already broken, but he simply wasn't ready to accept it. So, not wanting to waste my energy with him, I said. Totsuka, let's go. You don't want to be late for your first schedule, do you? That wouldn't be good at all. Then let us hasten forth. Totsuka once again reminisced about Yukinoshita's glare. Zamokusa began to follow me and Totsuka. It seemed that he had decided to join the party. By the time we got to the tennis courts, Yukinoshita and Yukigahama were already there. Yukinoshita was still wearing her uniform, but Yukigahama had changed into her jersey. They had probably decided to eat lunch there. When they saw us, they both quickly cleared their incredibly small bento boxes. Well then, let's begin. Yukinoshita. I look forward to working with you. Totsuka faced Yukinoshita and gave her a small bow. And that's the beginning of the Totsuka training mission with Yukinoshita's tagline, work until you are ready to die. Whatever. Here I come to conquer the second quest. Chapter 25, Interruption. Continuation. After a few days. Hachiman's POV. It had been 4 days since Yukinoshita prepared her tagline work until you are ready to die. Which, by the way, felt like some kind of dictatorial rule was imposed on all of us. However, as the days unfolded, the tagline transformed into a devastating reality. It truly seemed like we were under the reign of a ruthless ruler, especially when we were thrust into phase 2 of our tennis training. Welp, that might have been a tad too dramatic. But I believe you get the gist of it. Putting the complaining aside for a moment, we did manage to complete our basic training, and now we are finally practicing with actual equipment. Yet, the initial phase of training was fully focused on physical training. Like building up muscle strength and stamina, which are crucial elements in a sport like tennis, Totsuka, in particular, was noticeably lacking in this department, which was expected given his physique. Anyhow, coming back to our training, we have tackled all the essential muscles for generating power: biceps, deltoids, pectorals, abdominal muscles, obliques, back muscles, and thigh muscles, through push-ups and running. But I did later recommend incorporating body stretching positions, aiming for a flexible body that should be adaptable to Totsuka's fragile bones. And on top of push-ups, I also added squats and planks. Wait. Does it seem like I was the one who increased our workload more than Yukinoshita? Anyway, that was all about the phase 1 we did. Though, when I said we, I really meant only Totsuka and me. Yet, I did not back down from the challenge. I did my best to follow the training schedule Yukinoshita set. However, my main goal was to still help and support Totsuka, whether morally or physically. I stayed willingly right behind him during every exercise, and we spent a lot of time rallying the tennis ball against each other. Well, mostly I was the one who hit the ball in difficult areas, while Totsuka simply passed it in return. Luckily, I was glad I took the doctor's recommendation to heart and chose to exercise daily and even go for a run on every odd day after getting discharged from the hospital. Otherwise, I would have a hard time keeping up with a tennis team member. Basically, I was the walking wall monster that followed the instructions of the demonic instructor, Yukinoshita Yukino. Initially, Yukahama did join Totsuka's practices, but she grew bored of it quickly and now spent most of her time napping next to Yukinoshita, who mostly left everything to me and just sat and read books under the shade of a nearby tree. 1. But once in a while, when she seemed to remember that I and Totsuka were there, she would come over to check on us and issue further commands. And as for Zamokusa, it seems he simply took a break, just now. He is still only halfway through the first training, and I doubt that at the pace he's maintaining and the condition he's in, he will make it to the second part. Although I do feel slightly sorry for him, it is not a terrible thing for him to burn off a small portion of the fat that he has stored in bulk there. Even with occasional tantrums and his usual high-pitched quotes, he is holding up quite well. But I gotta say he didn't give up easily. Well, I suppose he doesn't have much of a choice given that Yukinoshita is in charge of the program. In the end, he doesn't have a way out of this. Despite everything, he is still holding on, and that does deserve some recognition, I suppose. And believe me when I say he was not idle. During these breaks, he was immersed in his own small world, creating new techniques. So, I just let him be for now. Anyway, Yukinoshita is going to take care of him. Totsuka. I will now start throwing the balls in tougher spots. I hope you are ready. I informed him that it was enough warm-up for today, and he simply nodded. I grabbed some balls from the cart and hurled them at Totsuka's blind spot, as he would try his utmost to get to those balls. Then I gradually shifted the ball's spots, forcing him to stretch his body and put in extra effort to catch them. Meanwhile, Yukahama was responsible for laboriously collecting the fallen balls around the court and bringing them back to the ball cart, as per Yukinoshita's orders. Hikigaya, please don't hold back, huff, this practice is meaningless otherwise. Totsuka spoke while breathing heavily. Hearing his words, I looked at Yukinoshita, who was also looking back at me. She looked calm and collected. But I know what that meant. Yukinoshita was serious, and seriously crazy. She was seriously trying to train Totsuka from the decision to take up this task, and so am I. Chuckle, well, I won't. With a chuckle under the eyes of clam Yukinoshita and worried Yukahama, I agreed. I started to aim the balls at more difficult positions. Totsuka would run and try to catch up to the balls. This continued back and forth. Thab. But, sometime around the 20th ball, he finally fell to the ground with his face down, trying to reach for a ball. Oh, sigh. Are you okay? Yukahama stopped collecting the ball and ran towards him. Haha. Totsuka sat up and rubbed his grazed knees, but he smiled through his tear-filled eyes and tried to assert that he was fine. 1. He then stood up. I am fine, so let's keep going. What a brave fellow. However, Yukinoshita scowled once she heard that. You, still want to keep going? Well, it seems she is surprised by Totsuka's determination, and I am too. Now, I feel bad for initially trying to skip over this part of the story in the beginning just because I didn't want to deal with the shrimp gang. How annoying. Gotta make it up for that. Yet. Everyone's helping me, so I want to put a bit more effort in. Totsuka. I see. Well, Hikigaya. Yuigahama. I will leave the rest to you. Yukinoshita said that, then briskly turned on her heel and almost disappeared. I shouted. Don't take too long. The office should be on the first floor of the special building and diagonally behind the cafeteria. I added. Hearing my shout, Yukinoshita stopped her steps for a second but resumed immediately, disappearing back into the school building. She didn't even turn back. A simple thank you would have been much appreciated. Yukino. Totsuka seemed anxious as he watched her go. Did I say something to make her angry? No. She probably went to get something. I assured him. Maybe she just got frustrated with me? I haven't gotten any better, and I can only do 5 push-ups. Totsuka's shoulders dropped as he looked down at the floor. Well, I guess it is plausible for him to think like that based on Yukinoshita's always cold outward appearance, just like any other. However, I don't think that's the case. Yukinon won't ever abandon people who come to her for help. Yuigahama spoke as she twirled a ball round and round in her hand. I supported her statement. Well, that's true. I mean, she even tried to help Yuigahama learn to cook. There's still some hope for you, so I doubt Yukinoshita gave up. 1. What's that supposed to mean? Yuigahama hurled the ball toward my head. I simply caught the ball with my hand, threw it in the ball cart next to me, and suggested. Before she comes back, shall we keep going? Okay. Totsuka answered energetically and went back to practicing. For a while after that, there was not another complaint uttered, nor were there any more tears. Totsuka was just trying his best. Ugh, so boring. Hiki, switch with me. In fact, Yuigahama was the first to complain, as she was tired of running around gathering the balls. 1. This wasn't the first time it happened. However, she would again get bored enough to throw the balls from the 6th throw at maximum. Like really? That was way too fast. Her endurance is really terrible. Nonetheless, I agreed. All right. We can switch. Yay. She cheered and came over to take my spot. However, as she took the position, I saw her previously smiling expression turn a bit hazy and gloomy while stuck looking off in a specific direction. I turned around to see what had caught her attention. And I immediately understood the cause. Someone's playing tennis. Tennis. Chapter 26, Dream On. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. Yay. Yuigahama cheered and came over to take my spot. However, as she took the position, I saw her previously smiling expression turn a bit hazy and gloomy while stuck looking off in a specific direction. I turned around to see what had caught her attention. And I immediately understood the cause. Someone's playing tennis. Tennis. A large group was full of cheerful voices, with Hayama and Miura alias the Bi*Shy Queen, leading them in our direction. As they passed by Zamokusa completely ignoring, they seemed to notice me and Yuigahama. It's you. A girl next to Miura spoke in a soft voice. Miura took a single glance at me and Yuigahama, then turned towards Totsuka. I too, ignoring everything, including Miura, turned towards Hayato and addressed him in a neutral tone. What's up, Hayato? Do you need something? That's the best I could offer as a greeting, and it's not like we are on friendly terms. For now, that is. Hopefully, it's enough to convey my intentions to get down to business, as I don't have much time in my hands to play around with them since Yukinoshita may arrive at any moment and spoil everything. Maybe I shouldn't have directed the way to her. Well, no use crying over spilled milk. I gotta make do with whatever I have. Hey, Totsuka. Can we play around here too? Unfortunately, Miura disregarded my question towards Hayato, as if she didn't hear me. Miura, I am not really playing around. I am practicing. Totsuka spoke so softly. Hey? What? I couldn't hear you. Miura couldn't seem to hear Totsuka, or perhaps she was just playing her Bi*Shy role once again. 1. If it's the latter, then damn, she is doing a good job at pissing me off. Now that I think about it, as Yukinoshita mentioned that day, I really don't like this *ch presence. Hayato, Totsuka has special permission to use this court however he sees fit. I turned to face Hayato again. Slowly stepping closer to him, I added. And by however he sees fit, it means he can allow the people he wishes for and exclude those he doesn't want on the court. I stood in front of him and locked eyes with him, asserting. Meaning he can allow someone like me while keeping people like you out. So, would you mind backing off? I advised him with a fake smile plastered on my face, contrary to my previous serious one. This should be enough of the dose, I guess. There is no need to get worked up anymore. And, just a side note, while I was talking to Hayato, I didn't even spare a glance at the crowd around him. Okay, let's not get into a fight. Hayato responded in a casual tone. Come on, it's more fun if everyone plays. Can't we just do it that way? Hayato's words got on my nerves. Sure, Miura had aimed the rifle, but he had pulled the trigger. Well, I would just have to shoot back. Do you have a hearing problem too, Hayato? I emphasized the word too to hint at someone else. I added. And do we look like someone having fun right now? We are here to help Totsuka. Nothing more, nothing less. Then I can help, Hayato. Hey, come on, Hayato, what are you just standing there for? I want to play tennis. The BQ's Miura's lazy voice slipped in from the side. BQ, *Shy Queen, 1. The girl played with the curls, seemingly oblivious to the conversation. Keep up with us, for heaven's sake. This pause allowed Hayato to think a bit more. It was enough to turn the ignition key in his brain. Alright, then let's do this. Let's play a match, and the ones who win will be able to use the courts during lunch break from now on. He added. Naturally, the winners will also help Totsuka practice. It's always better to practice with better players, right? That would be more fun for everyone. 1. What was up with that seemingly flawless logic? Was he some kind of genius? I myself was convinced there for a second. Tisk, he isn't someone to be taken lightly. Tennis match? That sounds really fun. Miura gave the kind of fierce smile that only the queen of *ch could. And all the hangers-on also seemed to be greatly roused by that suggestion of Hayato's. However, not me. Hayato, let me offer you some free advice. I interjected. When it comes to training partners, skill isn't always the deciding factor. Sometimes, it's best to practice with those who bring out your comfort and confidence. And, come on, I know you are not blind enough to miss this important distinction. Hayato's face reddened in realization, as I said that. 2. Take the *Shy Queen, for instance. She definitely doesn't have the minimum patience a person should have to help someone, especially with things like teachings. Sure, there is Hayato, but let's face it, what can he do on his own? I know I shouldn't be saying this as a person holding a loner title in my status bar, but it is going to be one heck of a deal to do it by yourself. And yet, please refrain from mentioning the minions behind him. So, with his brains, it shouldn't be hard for Hayato to understand what I am implying. Come on, don't disappoint me now. However, he still persisted. I understand, Hikigaya. However, there is nothing wrong with having a friendly match, right? I mean, I am sure Totsuka here needs some rest. You chose that way, huh? This bastard. Way too smart. Now, I would be the bad guy if I rejected him. 1. But like, I ever care, and I can also turn things around here. Why are you so insistent on stealing our court, Hayato? I can't believe I am playing the victim card. No. He stammered and appeared taken aback by my abrupt shift in tone. Seeing the influence of my words on him, I continued, not wanting to lose the upper hand. Let's say we do have a match. Who would play on our side? Totsuka and I are tired, and as for Zamokusa, let's forget about him. That leaves Uegahama, who has been the target of your minions' glares from the start. I pointed out bluntly. 1. So, this leaves us with no one to play on our side. I emphasized. Let's ignore all of this. Even if you accuse me of making excuses or being a coward, what would I gain by winning? Our own court? If it was ours to begin with, it's hardly considered winning. It's practically theft. I countered, bringing up injustice. 2. With a final tinge of bitter sarcasm, I concluded the conversation with a smirk. I see what you're getting at now. My apologies for the misunderstanding. You must be aiming for bullying instead, right? That's the real agenda here. 1. No. What's going on here? Amidst the chaos and tension, a voice, unmistakably female and familiar, chimed in, cutting through the commotion. The speaker, Yukinoshita Yukino, held a first aid kit in one hand. Just a little long, I was about to get to the fun part. Recognizing her, I seized the opportunity. You're here, Yukinoshita. You see, these guys are singling me out and bullying me. I complained. As Yukinoshita approached, she first stopped by Totsuka, handing him a first aid box I had personally prepared in case of emergencies. I mean, as I said, the training was hella hard, so just in case. She then continued walking toward me, while Yukigaya helped Totsuka with his treatment. Hikigaya. You are causing problems again. Yukinoshita scolded. I responded with a shrug and a hint of mischief. What can I say? I am a magnet for trouble. You will have to bear with it, Yukinoshita. She sighed. I am aware of that fact. You causing a problem isn't the issue. But why are you not resolving it when you already have a solution and instead escalating it even further? Feigning ignorance, I replied. Do I have a solution? I don't remember. I played my role, showcasing my acting skills. Instead of arguing, Yukinoshita extended her hand, gesturing for me to hand over something to her. Fine. I grumbled and pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket, reluctantly handing it over to her. She immediately snatched it from my hand and, while opening it, continued to walk toward Hayato. As she handed the letter to Hayato for him to read, I moved toward Totsuka and Yukigaya, offering a helping hand. Seeing me approach, Yukigaya asked. What's that letter, Hiki? Not answering immediately, I decided to have some fun. It's a love letter. I lied with fake shyness. 1. So, you and Yukinoshita are like. Yukigaya mumbled slowly, her tone flustered and somewhat sad. This girl can't take a joke. With a head chop aimed at her, I admitted. I was just messing with you, idiot. Can't take a joke. Don't call me idiot, you idiot, and don't joke around like at again. She resorted back as she regained her composure. This is turning out to be a bigger problem than I imagined. I need to take care of this after this mess is taken care of. I gave it some serious thought about Yukigaya. Yet. I replied half-heartedly. With that, I turned back to see the letter in Hayato's hand. The summary of the letter was simple. For the next week, the court belonged to the service club members and Totsuka during lunch hours. The permission was granted by Ms. Hirotsuka. At first, I thought it was going to be a difficult task to get a permission letter. But, it was pretty easy. In truth, I didn't even do a lot of work except to write the letter. Totsuka already had the permission. I just added the letter to make it more official. So if you have any problem with us having the tennis court to ourselves, you can talk it out with Ms. Hirotsuka, your homeroom teacher, and our club advisor. With that, Hayato and his group realized they needed to leave. Guys, I think we need to leave. Hayato, Miura. Hey Miura. You said you wanted to go shopping somewhere, right? I will accompany you. Hayato suggested. Poor guy. Had to sacrifice himself. 2. Okay. Miura eagerly agreed. Yukigaya turned to me and inquired. Hiki, you had something like that? I simply replied. I just forgot. Hehe, you are pretty dumb, Hiki. 1. As Hayama and his gang walked away from the court with bitter expressions, I watched their retreating figures with a sense of satisfaction. As a result, a smile spread across my face. It was more of a smirk than a smile. 6. How dare they try to steal something that is mine? 2. Dream on. Yep. I totally ignored Yukigama's nonsensical comments. Chapter 27, Workplace Tour 1. Continuation. After a few days. Staff room Subu High School Hachiman's POV. A partition divided the staff room, creating a reception area adorned with a black leather couch and a sleek glass coffee table. From the nearby window, one could see a beautiful view of the library. The warm summer breeze gracefully flowed in through the open window, causing a thin sheet of paper to flutter in the air. Ms. Hiratsuka sat on the couch, engrossed in her reading. Her eyes remained fixed on a paper held firmly in her hand, and I chose to take a seat across from her in a comfortable armchair. As I settled, I couldn't help but appreciate the view of the library visible through the window, complemented by the soothing summer breeze. Her intense focus was palpable as she delved into the contents of the paper, not a single blink betraying her concentration. Nope. That was not written by me. Actually, that was written by me. But I am not in any kind of trouble. Meaning it is not an assignment. Yeah, that's what I mean. I am in no trouble. At least that's what I hope. Suddenly, Ms. Hiratsuka looked up and asked while shuddering. Are you for real? What is that supposed to mean? Confused by her reaction, I asked. I mean, you actually put some thought into this. Ms. Hiratsuka wondered. There was something about her tone's surrealness that irked me in a really bad way. Again. What is that supposed to mean? I asked again, a bit frustrated. Kid. It looks like you've matured a bit, hey? Perhaps my brilliant idea of having you hang out with the service club had some merit after all. She stated by taking credit that she has zero involvement whatsoever. I quickly said. Nah, teach. I was always as amazing as I am now. It's not because of your cracking knuckles. She cracked her knuckles loudly, stopping me from talking. This way, my denial of her claims was cut short before it even began. Did you have something to say? She asked, and she glared at me with her characteristically sharp eyes, reminding me of a rabid beast. No. I don't think so. An immediate retrieval was necessary. This decision of mine bore fruit in no time, as we can already see Ms. Hiratsuka lowering her fist. But I must maintain my vigilance. Moving on. Ms. Hiratsuka returned to normal as she placed my workplace tour survey form in front of me. Honestly. She added, looking at me closely. I never thought you were into art. At Chiba Municipal Cebu High School, there's an event called a workplace tour that happens when you are in 11th grade. It was part of the newfangled education program to instill in every student's heart the desire to work for a company. It wasn't such a big deal, really. Every school probably had a similar event. I am not really into anything artistic. I am simply interested in web development and game design. I said without any confusion. I went on to explain. I feel those fields will let me utilize my wild imagination to its fullest. You know, like, I could go all out. Yet. Just make sure your imaginations don't get mixed up with your twisted thoughts. Having no way to criticize my choices, she opted to take a different path, conveniently avoiding any compliments she should have given me. Is this how career counseling usually goes? I doubt it. Hey my chweez *ahem, cough, cough. Darn it. I was about to use the same term she did. Chuckle, Ms. Hiratsuka. Stop. Don't laugh. It was a small blunder. I can't let my vocabulary be swayed by someone else's thoughts, can I? What I mean is that my unique thoughts are born from my wild imagination. So that makes them a part of who I am. Whether they are necessary or not is unimportant. In the end, those so-called unrequired things also make me who I am now and will continue to be so in the future. Now that was smooth, wasn't it? That definitely sounded way better than what I had in my head. Sigh, whatever, just don't overdo it. I was hoping for a more impressed or at least a slightly surprised reaction, but instead, I got a dismissive look and a blank expression. Don't ignore me. I blurted out, my voice coming out louder and more high-pitched than I intended. In accordance with the aftermath of my loose tongue, I braced for another round of verbal reprimand, which I was foreseeing to come true. However, surprising enough, nothing happened. It was as if she was completely unfazed by my outburst. *Ahem. Ms. Hiratsuka loudly cleared her throat, shooting me a sideways glance. Hikigaya, that's enough. You can go now. She said casually, lighting up a cigarette without even looking at me. As clueless I was as to her sudden, unexpected actions, I was more concerned about getting away from her clutches firstly. However, as I pondered the unexpected turn of events, my thoughts began to wander in a different direction. Ms. Hiratsuka was being unusually nice. Or maybe it was more accurate to say that, relative to her usual demeanor, she wasn't acting any nicer than an average person. I wondered if my sudden action of going ahead and choosing a career option made her feel satisfied. You know, like leaving a feeling that can't be expressed when a mother or a teacher sees their child or student actually taking their life seriously. Even more so when they assume it was because of their rising teachings. Looking back, she's at an age where women typically have 2 to 3-year-old children. But that can't be the case, right? I quickly shut down that train of thought, not wanting to delve into it any further. Then, I suddenly remembered something I needed to confirm with her. Initially, I didn't question it too much, but as time passed, I couldn't help but wonder if there was more to my forced recruitment into the service club by Ms. Hiratsuka. I mean, the coincidences were too many and too convenient. And let's be realistic, there are more practical ways to punish a student like me than by making them join a club. Even if I brushed it off as a bizarre yet nice coincidence, I have no theory regarding why Yukino also ended up seeking help from the service club. It couldn't have been just a chance. I distinctly remember her saying that she was directed to us by Ms. Hiratsuka. 3 people who are involved in an unfortunate accident but aren't aware of the involvement of either of the other 2 individuals somehow again meet each other as club members. Hold on a second. Was Yukinoshita even aware that the owner of the dog involved in the accident is actually Yukino, or was she only aware of my involvement? I mean, if she were aware of Yukino's involvement, there is no way she wouldn't have the same suspicions as I do. But I can't be certain. My memory is hazy. So I shouldn't jump to conclusions without all the facts. For now, let's assume only Ms. Hiratsuka is aware of our 3 involvements. So now the question is, what is Ms. Hiratsuka plotting behind the scenes? I know that she means no harm. But she isn't aiming for a love triangle, right? No way. That's ridiculous. Yeah, nope, never. Trying to eliminate any unnecessary thoughts, I shifted my focus to the matter at hand. Right. Off to my club duties, then. I picked up my school bag, which had fallen to the carpet, and slung it over my right shoulder. Inside, there were a bunch of textbooks covering the content of the midterms, as well as a manga I planned to read in the club room. As I walked towards the door, I heard someone call out behind me. "Oh, before you go," she said. "Just a reminder, for the upcoming workplace tour, you will be assigned groups of 3. You can choose your own group, so think about it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My shoulders drooped as I processed her words. "Although I despise having to choose my own group, I will consider it," I declared and walked off. Trying my best to ignore Ms. Hiratsuka's heartfelt comments. Ah, you have grown up, Hikigaya. Chapter 28, Emojis. Continuation. Same day. Hachiman's POV. Click. Entering the service club, I closed the door behind me with a soft click and greeted Yukinoshita. "Hey there. You didn't run into her?" Yukinoshita questioned me while I adjusted my bag to my chair and was about to settle in it. I asked. "Into who?" Thud. Suddenly, the clubroom's door burst open with a huge force as Yukino stormed in, with her eyes immediately searching for something or someone. "Ah, it's her, hey? Well, does this count as running into her or not? Hey you! There you are!" Yukino shouted, pointing her finger at me as if I were caught while playing a game of hide-and-seek. That was no way to greet someone, girl. "Oh, hey, Yukino." Giving her a small greeting, I turned towards Yukinoshita and whispered. "What's up with her?" *Sigh, since you took your sweet time coming to the clubroom, you had to be looked for. By Yukino, that is. Yukinoshita. You didn't have to make a point of that last part. I figured as much. Nonetheless, I am informing you that I was affronted hurt. Upon hearing Yukinoshita's words, Yukino, without caring what I said, folded her arms and scowled. "I went around asking everyone where you were," she complained. Everyone was like, "Hikigaya. Who's he?" It was so weird. Hey, now that's a surprise. I was aware of my relatively unknown identity during my first year, but I thought that would change due to the after effects of the recent incident. In fact, I was certain that I would become infamous. Guess not. But fear not, Yukino. For the next 2 years, my school hours will be filled with nothing but time. And I intend to use that time to garner attention and either become famous or infamous, as I will leave that choice to the events I will be facing to determine. Yep, it's time to gain new titles and update my status bar. However, for now, I can't let her be after insulting me like that. Well, now you get how blessed you are? Everyone doesn't have the privilege of knowing me personally. So cherish the moments you spend with me. I bragged, clearly sidestepping the fact that I am not even known to my fellow class students. I am surprised this doesn't hurt you at all. Yukinoshita mocked, bringing up my earlier words. Why should it? In fact, I like it in a way. How so? Yukinoshita. I mean, you don't have any pointless people in your life who just know your name and nothing more. You think you could remain like that for the rest of your life? Yukinoshita. Of course not. I declared. I mean, I had just put my self-declaration out there, pledging to become the most infamous person in our school's entire history. But I could at least try to enjoy these peaceful days while they last, couldn't I? I took the seat, which was now positioned even further away from Yukinoshita than my first day in the clubroom due to Yugahama's interfering chair. Due to remembrance of my miserably failed quest inch closer, I continued in a haughty tone, trying to bury my failure. I am sure one day this world will recognize how great I am. However, until then, I am good with what I have currently. Ignoring your delusions of grandeur, I guess it is a decent mindset to have for survival after failing at every aspect of high school life. Yukinoshita remarked. Hey, is she mocking me for having the same personality as Zamokusa? Nah, it can't be. I know she is complimenting my confidence in her own way. Well, thank you. I see no hope in you, Hikigaya. Yukinoshita. Wait. I was wrong. Ouch. With a fake hurt muffle, I settled in my chair. Then, taking out my phone from my pocket, I suggested randomly, turning to the one standing. Yugahama. Let's just exchange our numbers. Let's do this for now as a temporary solution. What? I was about to ask. Yugahama, shocked, muttered in a low voice. However, she stopped herself and said shyly, puffing out her cheeks. Yeah, let's do that. It's weird having to go around looking for you everywhere, and plus, it's embarrassing, whenever someone asks me about our relationship, I just, no. Her face went red, as if the mere recollection that she had gone looking for me was unbearably embarrassing. Quickly recovering, Yugahama snatched my phone from my hand and jerked it up and down. What's with that giant brick of a cell phone? She then pulled out an enormous, sparkling cell phone of her own and, holding both phones together in each hand, she compared. Hey? Isn't mine cute? Her phone had a pink strap, and some soft toy that looked like a mushroom hung from the strap and jiggled as she shook it. It is way too shiny for me. I responded honestly. Yeah, that was too bright for my taste. In fact, it was radiating shininess through and through, almost blinding me. You don't like it? She asked, disappointed. I have no such opinion. I replied blandly. That means you don't like it, right? Yugahama pressed again. Anyway, just type your number already. I shifted the topic. You want me to type it? Also, I am kind of amazed you could just hand over your phone like this to someone. She asked incredulously. Yeah. I shrugged nonchalantly. Sometimes I feel proud about it. Is this thing not working? After playing around with my phone for close to a minute, Yugahama asked. What are you on about? It is a perfectly fine-looking and functioning phone. I responded. Then why can't I use any emojis, no matter how many times I type them? Maybe your phone's touchscreen isn't working. Yugahama reasoned. Oh, that. It is not my phone's touchscreen's fault. I had them emojis, remove myself while trying something, but I forgot to turn it back on. You could do that? Yugahama exclaimed in surprise. Forget that. Moreover, why do you need those things? Don't mess around, and save your name. My tone was reprimanding as I was waving back and forth on its back legs. I was just, I am trying to make my contacts stand out by adding them. Yeah. Yugahama explained defensively. Yugahama UI. You have a weird way to do things. I never thought people would even do such a thing. I commented, shaking my head in disbelief. Yukinoshita nodded at what I said. Agreed. I guess it is a subconscious will of competitiveness. Right out of my mouth, I said as I grabbed my phone back from Uegahama, who had just finished saving her number. As I casually flicked through my phone contacts, I noticed something off about Uegahama, who was right next to me. *CAEI, Uegahama. She held her phone loosely in one hand, a vague smile on her lips, but her sighs were so soft that they were almost inaudible. Yet I could see her chest rise and fall, indicating how deeply she was exhaling. Is everything okay? A voice cut through the silence, bringing back Uegahama's focus. It was Yukinoshita. Chapter 29, Chain Mail. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. As I casually flicked through my phone contacts, I noticed something off about Uegahama, who was right next to me. *CAEI, Uegahama. She held her phone loosely in one hand, a vague smile on her lips, but her sighs were so soft that they were almost inaudible. Yet I could see her chest rise and fall, indicating how deeply she was exhaling. Is everything okay? A voice cut through the silence, bringing back Uegahama's focus. It was Yukinoshita. Without even looking up from her book, Yukinoshita seemed to sense that Uegahama was acting strangely. Perhaps she had heard her sighing. Oh, nothing, I guess. Uegahama hesitated before responding. I just got this weird text, so I was all like, whoa. Yukinoshita, ever observant, turned her attention towards me. Hikigaya. It hasn't even been a minute since I agreed upon something with you. However, I cannot support this kind of thing. She gave a stern warning. So if you don't want to end up in court, I suggest you stop sending those obscene texts immediately. Hey, don't accuse me. How could I have sent those texts when I just took my phone back from her? I was taken aback by the accusation and quickly defended myself. I doubt that could stop you. Yukinoshita. What? I am no magician. How could I do that? Is that supposed to be a compliment? I asked the same question as an earlier one. Nah, I don't reckon Hiki's the culprit, you know. Uegahama jumped in and took my side, albeit a second late. Suddenly, Yukinoshita's hand froze mid-page turn as she asked with her eyes alone for proof. Where's the proof? Damn. She is super serious. Did she want me to be a criminal that badly? It is because of the photo incident, isn't it? I thought we had already sorted it out, but it seems not. Well, you see, the text was about my class. So that means Hiki's got nothing to do with it. Uegahama. Except I am in the same class as you. I interjected. Oh, I see. In that case, Hikigaya couldn't have been the culprit. Yukinoshita stated it matter-of-factly, her tone revealing no hints of doubt or suspicion. Now you guys are simply messing with me. I complained. Wheel. I guess these things happen from time to time. Uegahama spoke solemnly as she snapped her phone lid shut. I won't worry about it too much. It is going to die down soon. Yukinoshita advised. It was like she was speaking from deep personal experience. Knock knock. All of a sudden, we heard a short, rhythmical rap on the door. Who's knocking at this hour? I looked quizzically in Yukinoshita's direction, asking what to do. Nodding, she said. Come in. Sorry for intruding. A familiar, male voice greeted us as the person entered. It was Hayato Hayama. His brown hair was loosely styled as a perm, and his voice just now is a standard example of cool, which would instantly put a normal person at ease. 2. After entering, he peered straight at me and grinned, meeting my eyes without any self-consciousness. Grin. I simply nodded in acknowledgement. Sorry about the bad timing. I have a bit of a request for you. He said, placing his Umbro enamel bag down on the floor was an extremely natural movement. This is the service club, right? Ms. Hirotsuka said that this was the place to go if I had a problem that needed to be fixed. He pulled up a seat and settled in facing Yukinoshita as he spoke. Almost matching the level of confidence I maintain when facing Yukinoshita, which was no laughing matter. However, if there was any difference, it would be the easygoing charm he exuded from everything he did. In contrast, my approach would be more nonchalant and laid back, very minimal in my moments. Hayato began his cheerful chatter. Man, I had a hard time getting my club to let me go. Club activit. Enough. But his words were quickly cut off by Yukinoshita's flat tone. Yep, that confirms it. She definitely does not prefer Hayato being here. But why? I don't get it, and I don't remember anything related to this being mentioned in the series either. All I know is that he and Yukinoshita went to the same middle school and had family connections. 1. I have to look into this matter in the future. But for now, that's one less opponent for me. My eyes stayed on Hayato, tracing him from top to bottom for a second before retreating back. During that 1 second, I used my appraisal skill: athletic build, good height, medium length blonde hair, and pale blue eyes. Overall, he has charm. 3. He is a perfect walking example of an Eichmann handsome, that every girl dreams about. All my personal thoughts aside, Hayato's bragging about how hard it is to excuse himself from his clubmates was really something very few will experience. And I can't really blame him or be jealous of him. I mean, he is the next captain of the soccer club. But for some reason, Yukinoshita didn't take it in a good light and, in a reminiscent manner, got straight to the point. You came here because you wanted something, did you not? Hayato Hayama. Damn, that was straightforward. If it was Zamokusa or Tatsuka, they would be sweating bullets by now. Hayato slowly took out his cell phone, saying, "Ah. Well, about that." Pressing the buttons nimbly, he accessed the text messages and showed me the screen, but I gestured for him to show it to Yukinoshita first. Which he compiled, but not without shooting a smirk at me. Nope. It is not how you think it is, dude. As Hayato brought his phone in front of Yukinoshita, Yuagahama also craned her neck to peer at the screen, and immediately she let out a soft "Ah." It's the same word text. Yuagahama took out her own cell phone and showed Yukinoshita the text that had the exact same message as the one from Hayato. Yukinoshita passed me Hayato's phone, and I could see the texts were identical, talking about the 3 same individuals, but their origins remained mysterious and unsettling. Tobe belongs to a gang that hangs around at the arcade picking on people from West High. Yamato is a 3-timing douchebag. Uka played roughly at a practice match just to take out the other school's ace player. A chainmail, hey. Yukinoshita intoned reading the texts. Hayato smiled bitterly. Ever since these started circulating, the atmosphere in class has been getting more and more strained. Plus, I am mad since those are my friends they are talking about. So I want to stop it. It really doesn't sit right with me, after all. He insisted, and his voice held a hint of frustration and hurt. However, flashing another cheerful expression, he continued. Oh, but I don't want to turn this into a witch hunt. I want to know how to solve things peacefully. I am wondering if you could help me out. Wow, this guy is really selfless. I mean, as far as I can remember, during our previous confrontation on the tennis court, I played him really well. But he put aside the differences and came, asking for help from his friends. Yukinoshita scratched her chin in thought for a while, and then she opened her mouth. So basically, you want us to set the situation under control? Pretty much. Hayato replied with a sense of relief. Then we must find the culprit. Yukinoshita declared, standing up, holding the book close to her chest. I don't think that was the solution Hayato was hoping for, Yukinoshita. Sure, I will leave it to Y. Hayato began blithely until the shock registered on his face, hey. Yet, within a moment, he regained his composure and smiled. Ahem, why do you need to do that? See, there you have it. At that, Yukinoshita, whose cold expression was the complete antithesis of Hayato's, began to speak slowly, as if carefully choosing her words. Sending chain messages, that is a despicable act that tramples on a person's dignity. While they hide in the shadow of anonymity, they slander others for the sole purpose of damaging them. I can already see how this is going to turn out. She is going to take this quest pretty personally, isn't she? After all, she had studied abroad, and I could only imagine the tone of these messages circulating behind her back. And we all know how frightening females can be when infested with jealousy. Actually, something like this might have already happened to her during her stay at our school. Who knows? 1. Just as I imagined, I could feel the tension in the room rise. Yukinoshita spoke calmly. Spreading slanderous words is no less of an evil thing to do. Healthy curiosity is one thing, but to continue spreading slanderous words, unless you eliminate the root cause, there won't be any results. Source: me. As she expressed her thoughts, her words were like a blazing fire flickering underneath her veneer. That was a kind of blood-pumping speech, and I could already see its effect on a certain someone. So you eliminated them? Yukino said it with a rather strained smile. Her words were a mix of admiration and disbelief, clearly influenced by Yukinoshita's powerful words. Chapter 30, Third Quest. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. Healthy curiosity is one thing, but to continue spreading slanderous words, unless you eliminate the root cause, there won't be any results. Source: me. Yukinoshita. As she expressed her thoughts, her words were like a blazing fire flickering underneath her veneer. That was a kind of blood-pumping speech, and I could already see its effect on a certain someone. So you eliminated them? Yukino said it with a rather strained smile. Her voice held a mix of admiration and disbelief, clearly affected by Yukinoshita's powerful words. The weight of Yukinoshita's powerful words lingered in the air, leaving a tense and heavy atmosphere between the three of them. Unfazed by everything, Yukinoshita continued. In any case, a person who commits such a despicable deed undoubtedly deserves to be eradicated. She declared, her voice firm and unwavering. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, vengeance is my creed. 1. Hee, that wraps it up, I suppose. I mused myself. If this is the conclusion she has reached and she truly believes it's the right way to handle things, then I must admit I really like your approach, Yukino. But there's something I would like to throw into the mix. Hee. Hikigaya Hachiman, me who had been quiet until now, laughed as I stood up from my seat. Strolling towards Yukinoshita in silence, I whispered loudly. Yukinoshita, you are incorrect. Hey! My statement elicited an immediate reaction from Yukino, surprise. Fucking hell! I could not believe I had actually challenged Yukinoshita's resolute stance on vengeance by saying that. They say to repay gratitude tenfold and resentment 100-fold. I paused, choosing my words carefully. So for me. In the realm of justice, let it be a vision for an eye and 100 teeth for one tooth, vengeance, a symphony masterfully conducted by the dictates of my creed. I came to a stop and stood beside her, hands in my pockets, as I gazed out the window. That's how it should be. I concluded confidently. If you ask me. Silence enveloped the room as everyone processed Hikigaya's statement. After what felt like an eternity, Yukinoshita finally broke the silence with a matching grin. Hikigaya. You might just have a chance at becoming vice president of the club. But don't assume I will accept my defeat. I agreed. You bet. I wouldn't like it otherwise. You might say we were both exuding an ominous aura. Curious, I turned to observe Hayato's expression, which clearly conveyed, did I make a mistake by coming here? And honestly, he was probably right. Unfazed by his concerns, I proceeded, turning around. If the culprit went to the effort of changing their phone address, it was because they didn't want their true identity to be known and were afraid of being found out. In that case, they would probably stop the moment their cover was blown. Basically, finding the culprit was the quickest way of finishing things. You also think so? Hayato. That's the moment it really hit him, he chose the wrong group to ask for help. Are they always on the same page like this? Hayato faintly asked Yukino beside him. No, I don't think so. It is kinda the opposite. But whenever they agree with each other, gulp, they are scary. Yukino explained. 1. Ignoring their murmuring, Yukinoshita began. As Hikigaya said, we will find the one who did this. I believe a single word will stop them. I will let you decide what to do with them after that. Is that all right with you? That's fine. Hayato said resignedly. Yukinoshita stared closely at the cell phone that Yukino had placed on the desk. She placed a hand on her chin in contemplation. When did the messages start circulating? It was last weekend. Wasn't it, Ui? Hayato answered, and Yukino nodded. Hey now? I know this is out of context, but did Hayato just now casually call Yukino by her first name? Like, it's no big deal. Is it simply one of those popular kids' habits of going around and casually calling girls by their first names? Or perhaps I stumbled upon a lucky chance. I mean, maybe I can intentionally lead them to stumble upon something. So it suddenly started last week, I see. Yukinoshita mused. Then she asked me directly. Hikigaya. Did something happen in class last week? Last week? I muttered thoughtfully, trying my best to recall the events. But like most incidents I have faced until now, my memories are far from perfect. All I remember is something about chain messages and that's about it. However, luckily, unlike my previous self me, I have been more conscious of my surroundings. Wherever I was, for the matter of fact. I might even know who the culprit is. But for now, let's not make any assumptions without evidence. As far as I could remember, the announcement about workplace observation is the major thing that happened. I answered. As soon as I uttered that, Yukino came to an abrupt realization. Ooh, that's it. It's because of the groups. Hey? Really? Hayato interjected with a curious look on his face. Me and Yukinoshita also turned to Yukino for further explanation. Being the main focus, Yukino laughed sheepishly. You see, when you make a group for this kind of event, it affects your relationships afterwards. Some people take it really personally. With puzzlement, Hayato and Yukinoshita looked at the slightly gloomy Yukino. Hayato had never been excluded, and Yukinoshita had no interest in such things, so neither of them understood. However, I knew what Yukino meant. It was because those words came from Yukino, who paid attention to others and accepted them all for their bizarre and complicated ways, that I could believe them. *Ahem. Yukinoshita coughed to get the conversation back on track. Hayato, those messages were written about your friends, you said. Who are you grouping with? Oh, now that you mention it, I haven't decided yet. I guess I will end up going with someone out of those three. Hayato replied in a dumb way. I think I know who did it now. Yukino said it with a somewhat dejected expression. Mind giving us an explanation? Yukinoshita asked. Well, you see, basically, someone who's usually in the group is gonna get excluded, you know? Only one person from a group of 4 is gonna get left out. And that person is gonna be super bitter about it. Her voice quivered with emotion. At that, everyone fell into silence. I gotta say for Yukino to reach this conclusion before Yukinoshita guesses her socialization skills are not completely useless. If we were going to apprehend the culprit, then first we needed to think about their motive. If we could find out just what would make them resort to such an action, then we could naturally deal with them. Thinking about it in this case, it was probably so that they wouldn't get left out. In our class, Hayato was part of a group of 4 boys. Therefore, if they had to make a group of 3, someone would miss out. Not wanting that to happen, they had no choice but to kick someone out. That was probably what the culprit was thinking. So there's no doubt the culprit is among the 3 of them. Immediately, Yukinoshita stated, reaching the same obvious conclusion. Hearing it, Hayato let out a rare outburst. Hang on a sec. I don't want to think the culprit is among them. And don't the texts say bad things about all 3 of them? It can't be one of them. I chimed in. Nope. It is exactly what Yukinoshita and Yukino said. Hayato. Don't be any more stupid and dumb than you have already been. I responded harshly. Chapter 31, Prosecutor, Yukinoshita. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. So there's no doubt the culprit is among the 3 of them. Immediately, Yukinoshita announced, reaching the same obvious conclusion. When Hayato heard it, he let out a rare outburst. Hang on a sec. I don't want to think the culprit is among them. I chimed in. Nope. It is exactly what Yukinoshita and Yukino said. Hayato. Don't be any more stupid and dumb than you have already been. I responded harshly. Still undeterred by my words, he continued to defend. But don't the texts say bad things about all 3 of them? It can't be one of them. Exactly. My response was sharp and cutting. The reason behind the bad things about all 3 of them is because no one would suspect them. To be honest, the one who executed this idea is pretty dumb. I let out a mocking laugh. I mean, if it were me, I would purposely leave out either of the other 2 from slandering and frame them as the culprit. A complete noob mistake, I say. Hiki, that's really horrible. Said Yukino. I defended myself. No, it's a white-collar crime. I returned to the conversation and said. Hayato, let's face it. You must have at least considered the possibility that one of those 3 could be the culprit, didn't you? And isn't that why you are hesitant to find the culprit from the beginning? To not stir up a conflict and ruin your so-called friendship. Hayato bit his lip in vexation. He probably never wanted to imagine something like this, that there was hatred right under his nose or that dark emotions were swirling underneath the smiling veneer of those whom he trusted. For now, could you tell us what you know about those three? Yukinoshita probed Hayato for information. At that point, Hayato looked up, his face brimming with resolve. His belief in his friends remained clear in his eyes. He probably held on to the lofty belief that he could clear up the suspicion that had been cast on his friends. With the same attitude, he adhered to Yukinoshita's request. Tobe's in the same soccer club as me. His bleached hair might make him look like a bad guy, but he's the best at getting everyone energized. He always gets involved at the school festival and the sports festival. A nice guy. An easily excited person whose only talent is making noise, I see. Yukinoshita released her evaluation without any filter. 3. Silence. Hayato was lost for words. What's wrong? Go on. Yukinoshita prompted, giving Hayato a strange look for falling into silence so suddenly. Chuckle. I couldn't help but chuckle from the sidelines, observing Hayato's clueless face as he struggled to find words to retaliate against Yukinoshita's decipherment of his friend. And his ever-confident demeanor faded into the past as he simply stared at Yukinoshita dumbfoundedly. Ha ha. The small chuckle continued to grow, and a small laugh slipped out of my mouth. 1. Damn, that description was funny but also painfully accurate. I don't know whether she is doing this consciously or if it just came naturally to her. Probably the latter one. But one thing I am certain of is that, I pity Hayato. Believe me, I really do. In many ways, actually. Glare. Suddenly, stern glares were directed at me, particularly from Uegahama. What is she so angry about, all of a sudden? Yukinoshita also looked slightly put off, but more so because I had disturbed her flow rather than my laughter. And as for Hayato, he just simply looked at me with his usual brightening smile on his face, with no hint of annoyance or irritation. A saint. I am telling you, he is a saint. I mean, if he is not, then who could it be? Here we are badmouthing one of his friends left and right, but he is taking this sportively instead. Sorry, my bad. I immediately acknowledged my mistake. No worries. Hayato, who accepted my apology, instantly regained his momentum and launched into the next character description. Yamato's in the rugby club. He's calm and good at listening. He's a chill guy who puts people at ease by not saying much, I guess. He's the silent, caring type. A nice guy. So not only is he slow, he's incapable of making his own decisions, right? Yukinoshita. 1. Hayato frowned in silence, incapable of mustering any words. Sigh with a resigned sigh, he continued. Toka is in the baseball club. He's easy to get along with, and he's always helping other people out. He's always polite and respectful to his elders and his juniors. A nice guy. An opportunist who worries about his reputation, then. Yukinoshita. By this point, Hayato wasn't the only one who had been speechless. Uegahama and, to some extent, even me, opened our mouths vacantly, but no words came out. Yukinoshita demolished them. Nonetheless, I couldn't hold back my amusement. As I expected, you were born to be a prosecutor, Yukinoshita. 1. Shut it. Hikigaya. Yukinoshita scolded. She really can't take in compliments, does she? Then she peered at the memo she wrote and groaned. It wouldn't be strange for any of these people to be the culprit. She said in a realistic manner. Hayato's descriptions aren't much to go on. Uegahama, Hikigaya. She turned her inquisitive gaze on us. What do you think of those boys? There's not much to say. Uegahama replied with uncertainty. I don't really know those guys. I said. But that Tobe guy with the long brown hair has an irritating voice, and the way he acts trying to look cool is totally uncool. Overall, I don't quite like him. I spoke honestly, recalling how he had called me Hakatani during gym class. 1. As for the other two, I don't really have any strong opinions about them. I finished my assessment. So you basically don't know anything, and no one asked about your subjunctive personal feelings. Yukinoshita. Well, that's true. I admitted. Then could you look into them for me? Yukinoshita asked, looking at Uegahama and me. I responded. The groups are being decided the day after tomorrow, correct? We have 1 day to figure it out. Okay. Yukino looked slightly uncomfortable at this request. I suppose for Yukino, who wishes to get along with everyone in her class, this wasn't an action she was inclined to undertake. Yukinoshita also seemed to realize that too, because she lowered her eyes gently. Sorry, it's not a terribly pleasant thing to do. Please put it out of mind. Nope. Wrong choice of words, Yukinoshita. When someone puts it like that, anyone would say they'd do it. Well, that much was obvious. Even more so considering Yukino's personality. That's basically as good as emotional blackmail. Which I don't think Yukinoshita is aiming for. I will do it. I don't really care what my classmates think of me. I accepted the task. Yukinoshita glanced at me and smiled thinly. Stick, arrow piercing right into my heart. Leave it to me. Finding faults in people is one of my 108 special skills. Yep. I will do it 100 times. Hang on. I'll do it too. I just can't let Hiki handle it on his own. Suddenly, Yukino insisted with a red face. The next instant, she clenched her fists and said. And plus. There's no way I can turn down one of Yukino's requests. Her devotion to Yukinoshita was rather touching. I see. Yukinoshita answered shortly, looking away sharply. Whether because of the sunset glow or her embarrassment, the color rose was planted on Yukinoshita's cheeks. Hayato, who was watching the two girls with a bright, invigorating smile on his face, remarked. What a nice friendship. Dude, you sound like an old man, but yet, they get along pretty well. I agreed, not missing the chance to throw in a comment. That is exactly why I don't want to be the cause of that disturbance between them. So do you, Hikitani. Hayato turned to me with the same bright smile. Hikitani? Didn't we already talk about it? I am quite sure he also agreed to it. He is definitely not the type to go away from his words. Is he holding a grudge against me due to the last confrontation? Confused, I looked at Hayato, who was, grinning. Yep. I hit the nail in the coffin. I assume this time you won't oblige if I ask you to stop calling me that. I sure won't. An immediate positive response. Well, gotta face what I brought upon myself, I guess. Scene end. Chapter 32, Groups. Continuation. Next day. Service Club location, Dash. Hachiman's POV. The classes are finished for today. And as planned, Yukinoshita, Yukino, myself, and Hayato gathered in the club room to inquire about the result of our scheduled mission that had happened today during lunchtime. What did you find? Yukinoshita pressed Yukino and me for our information report. Yukino laughed sheepishly and said. Sorry. I asked the girls if they knew anything, but I got zilch. She apologized meekly. In fact, she should be. Because if I were to be really critical of her performance during the mission, then it would be, she failed terribly. Except for her genuine enthusiasm for helping Yukinoshita, her entire approach was off track from the start. She is too direct, crude, and naive. She lacked decisiveness in obtaining the necessary information for our quest. Furthermore, during the mission, she awakened a BL freak in the class, which I preferred not to witness. In conclusion, Yukino is not fit for such tasks. Yukinoshita dropped her head and peered directly at Yukino. But she did not seem particularly mad. Is that so? In that case, I don't mind. Hey? Are you okay with that? Yukino was taken aback. On the contrary, today you found out that the girls had no interest and were not related. That makes it purely a problem concerning Hayato's group. Yukino, you did well. Yukinoshita said, bringing up the scene during Yukino's task. However, is that her way of comforting Yukino? If so, then she has a lot to improve. Why Yukino? Yukino lunged for a hug while her eyes clouded over with emotion. Well, it seems to have worked out somehow. Thump. Yukinoshita neatly dodged the hug, causing Yukino to hit her forehead against the wall, and her eyes welled up with tears. Astonished, Yukinoshita nursed Yukino's forehead. What a lovely pair of mother and daughter I got in my club room. At the same time, Yukinoshita looked at me. So, what about you? Sorry, I didn't find a clue to the culprit's identity. I admitted it up front, but my tone was not that of a defeated one. In reality, I still haven't caught the culprit, but if I had to really know, then there are some tricks I could use. However, the fact is, even if I had caught the sinner red-handed, it is most unlikely that I would expose them. At least not here, and certainly not in front of Hayato. It seems Yukinoshita had also picked up on my intentions. She is indeed smart. I see. Acting her part, she only let out a resigned sigh. However, she then looked at me with very pitiful eyes and said, "Nobody would talk to you." 1. No, that was not it. And why is she picking up every chance she gets to speak about my loner status? Isn't that just bullying? No. I am the one who wouldn't talk to others. I responded. What does it change? Yukinoshita countered. Believe me, it does, and a lot at that too. Well, it is true that I didn't find out who exactly the culprit was, but I did learn one thing. I said. Yukinoshita, Uegahama, and Hayato all leaned forward. Doubtful eyes, expectant eyes, interested eyes, as I received their gazes in turn. As if on cue, Yukinoshita asked. What did you learn, I wonder? That group belongs to Hayato. I announced. Hey? Aren't you stating the obvious? Uegahama said it vehemently, as if I were an idiot. I explained. Oh, I phrased it badly. Basically, they only hang out with each other for Hayato's sake. Nah, I don't really think it's like that. Hayato said, but it was clear he was unaware of the dynamics within his own group. In that case, I wonder if the other three in that group were just as oblivious as he was. But since I was an outsider, the differences were as plain as day. Hayato, have you ever seen those three when you are not around? I prodded. No, I haven't. Hayato responded. See. When it's just three of them, they don't really get along at all. To put it simply, to each of them, you are their friend, but to each other, they are just seen as friends of their friend. Honestly, in my opinion, there is nothing wrong with this dynamic. Because I believe that's how friend groups are basically formed. But in most cases, the awkwardness between them should have naturally settled down after a few days, and they began to view each other as their true friend. However, in this case, even after months of knowing each other, the awkwardness remained palpable. I am not sure exactly when this Hayato gang was formed, but it has definitely been well over a few months. Which is enough time for any initial awkwardness to fade away, if you ask me. Yet, for some reason, it didn't happen here. And no, I don't know the reason either. Uegahama was the only one who reacted to my previous evaluation. Oh, I totally get that now. When the person who keeps the conversation going isn't there, it's awkward. You don't know what to do and end up playing with your phone. Let's just assume that what you said is true on all accounts. It still reinforces their motive to bring someone down. If we can't pin down the culprit, the issue will never be fully resolved. Yukinoshita came forward. Hayato timely went quiet, as if reflecting on the situation. Time up, buddy. If you don't make up your mind by now, then you will only let others do it for you. And in your case, these so-called others are going to be me. But I can't guarantee that my solution will please you. So brace yourself, Hayato. Hayato, if you want, I will solve this mess you have gotten into. I know a way those three can become friends without searching for the culprit. Not only that, without anyone having to resort to fighting each other. I wonder what sort of expression I had on my face when I uttered those words? I know I was smiling, at least. And it was such a splendid smile that it made Uegahama pull back in horror and Yukinoshita to raise an eyebrow. What are you up to now, Hikigaya? Yukinoshita questioned my intentions. Inadvertently, I started cackling the way Zamokusa did. If there existed a devil that chased humans to make wicked deals with them, it might have looked like me at that moment. You wanna know? I asked. Just wait and see how I am going to corrupt this saint. He. Asterisk nod. Hayato, the poor, lost lamb, silently listened to the devil's offer and nodded fervently in response. Next day. Grade 11, Class F Hachiman's Class Dash. Hachiman's POV. The following day, Hayato accepted my offer regarding the quest he had given to the service club, sealing his fate. Well, it's time to add another sticker to our signboard, I guess. What should I put this time around, though? Maybe I should ask Yukinoshita again? Coming to the present, in the classroom, the names of all the classmates were listed on the blackboard. Each grouping consisted of 3 names, and they were written down to indicate the groups for the workplace tour. Within that, there is a C group consisting of the names Tobe, Yamato, and Oka. And in the exact same manner, you could see the 3 of them chatting normally, unlike before. As for me, I didn't call out to anyone and just sat there watching as if I were spaced out. However, that's when. Mind if I sit here? Hayato asked, to which I simply nodded in response. Thanks to you, we settled things peacefully. Hayato smiled cheerfully. He added. And I tell you what? They sure were surprised when I said I wouldn't get in a group with them. Well, I just hope it'd be nice if this could motivate them into becoming real friends. Becoming real friends, hey? Well, that's definitely out of anyone's hands. Yeah, I guess. I agreed, keeping my thoughts to myself. However, frankly, being as nice as this guy is almost like a mental illness itself. I mean, even me with 2 lifetime experiences of being raised in 2 different atmospheres, meaning 2 different parenting upbringings, wouldn't match the sheer kindness of this guy. Thanks again, man. Hayato said. Yeah, you should be. But even if you are not, it doesn't matter, because I gained something from this. I implied. I am, and I will be thankful. But I didn't quite grasp the last part. Hayato. Wanna know? I chuckled, a sly smirk playing on my lips. Although, I have a feeling you won't like it. No problem. You can tell me. Hayato shrugged. I did this to drag you. My eyes narrowed as I leaned in closer, my voice low and conspiratorial. Hayato Hayama, onto the path of the loner. You are a sadist. Hayato shook his head in mock disappointment. How moral-less of this bastard to call your savior a sadist. Hey, don't praise me too much. I might get full of myself. I laughed. So you are not already full of yourself now? Hayato raised an eyebrow, forming a small smirk on his lips. Of course not. I am as humble and grounded as someone as great as me could possibly be. I proudly announced. Ignoring my self-boosting, he suddenly asked. And hey man, you don't have a group yet, right? Wanna team up? Then Hayato asked, extending his right hand towards me with a smile. After a little contemplation, I slapped his hand, agreeing. Well, have it your way. But mind you, you are the one joining my party, not the other way around. I made things clear. Asterisk chuckle. Sure. Hayato chuckled. Suddenly, a small organism spawned popped up, next to me. Fuck. I forgot about him. Tatsuka. Wanna join? I immediately asked, as his teary eyes were almost coming out. Hachiman. I decided to go with you from the beginning. He declared, in happiness. Hayato, who was watching the 2 of us smile, stood up straight and looked back at us over his shoulder. He asked. Right, I will go write our names. Where do you want to go? It's up to you. Nod. I said, and Tatsuka nodded in agreement. So Hayato began writing our names on the blackboard, Hayato, Tatsuka, Hikigaya. Hey, he at least wrote my name correctly on the board, so he might not be that bad. He could be a good candidate to add to my friend lists, but then again, it is too soon to jump to conclusions. Hey, it's Hayato. Hayato. Where are you going? Hayato. And the commotion began as our classmates' girls bombarded Hayato all at once. Well, whatever, I at least won't be eaten by Ms. Hiratsuka for not selecting the group again. Chapter 33, Home and School. Continuation. Few days later. Hikigaya's household. Hachiman's POV. The hands of the clock were pointing close to 1 o'clock. Yuck. I groaned and stretched out my hands. Damn it. Is it already this late? I cursed out, looking at all the random papers scattered across the study table. The papers are filled with the concept art of various level screens and boards of multiple levels in Candy Crush. Not just concept boards but details like total moves and power-ups allocated to complete each level, the maximum number of bonus moves one can get, map environment designs, and other crucial elements related to maps of different levels. Now, why am I doing all this when I already sold out the concept to some company? Well, as I mentioned, the game is still in the pre-production stage, and even though I was not allowed to participate in the development of the whole game, I requested that I design the level screens and boards for them. It's not something difficult or a big deal. In fact, I already designed around 150 level boards when I submitted the game concept to the competition. All I have to do is do the same with another 1,000 or so levels. Yet, no big deal. Except for the fact that I need to work daily for my death. But I do get compensated for the work I am putting in. Of course, it is only when they are satisfied with my output, but I doubt it is very unlikely to happen, as they are more than satisfied with my initial designs. Am I being arrogant here? Shouldn't I, though? I mean, as of now, I have successfully submitted 900 level boards in a total of 9 batches, with each batch consisting of 100 levels. And, mind you, all of them were accepted pretty smoothly. Currently, I am halfway through the 10th batch. Meaning the first version will have a total of 1000 levels. I believe it should be sophisticated for the game's first launch. I am sure I could finish the 10th batch in a couple of weeks or so. However, the midterms are right around the corner too. I muttered. Should I set this aside for now and study for 1 or 2 hours? I wondered to myself. Nat. First off, I should get a coffee before deciding on anything else. After a slight pause, I got up from the chair, as I figured I would still be staying up for 1 or 2 more hours, either studying for exams or continuing what I was doing. Here I come, my all-time favorite Max coffee. I tried to motivate myself by giving myself a loud cheer. With heavy feet, I dragged myself down the stairs and into the living room. The coffee was right where I remembered it. However, as I was walking into the living room, I was greeted by an unexpected sight, my little sister Komaki, napping on the sofa. If I remember correctly, her midterms were coming up soon, just like mine, but as usual, she didn't have a care in the world. The privilege of being a second-born, and a girl at that. Oh, how I envied these so-called lucky creatures. Well, not my problem. Muttering to no one in particular, I quickly pushed those thoughts away and reached the kitchen with the goal of finding Max coffee without switching on the lights. After a few minutes, I came out of the kitchen with coffee in one hand and took a few steps towards the stairs. I gave one last look at Komaki, who was still sleeping on the sofa with her stomach and belly button exposed. But if she catches a cold, that's definitely my problem. With that being decided, I covered her with a nearby bath towel for now. Edwin reaction, Komaki mumbled something in her sleep. After completing my job as big brother, I moved to my room as planned, and after an hour of staying up to the same work, I went to bed to get myself some rest. Definitely, with the idea of waking up after 3 hours of sleep, but alas! I forgot to set an alarm. So instead of waking up to the sound of an alarm, I woke up to my sister's shout in an obnoxiously loud voice. Crap! I overslept. Her yells could be heard all the way to my room upstairs. I only planned to sleep for an hour, but then I slept for 5. Ignoring her tantrums for a moment, I looked at the small clock on the table, which shows 7:39. Carb. I overslept too. Wait. Wasn't that obvious? I mean, Komaki and I both leave around the same time. Yep, it looks like someone's stupidity is starting to rub off on me. Who though? Lately, I have been meeting a single handful of people. An orange head popped into my imagination. Big brother, why didn't you wake me up? Another shout from my sister cut through my thoughts, blaming me for her mess up. Ms. Hiratsuka is gonna chew me out for sure. I muttered in a defeated tone. Recently, I haven't been giving Ms. Hiratsuka many opportunities to lash out at me, but now that she has one, I am sure as hell she's going to make the most of this. And so my morning began like any other day, with chaos and mishaps. Same day. Grade 11, Class F Hachiman's class dash. Hachiman's POV. Ms. Hiratsuka scowled openly at me. Now then, before I punch you, I will ask you why you were late, just to be nice. She'd already decided to punch me, hey? But I, too, have made the decision that I am not tolerating this student abuse anymore. If she really does punch me this time, I am gonna seriously try to dodge it. Which is nothing new, as I always do. Hikigaya, you are not thinking of doing something stupid, are you? She questioned me, sensing my hidden intentions. Nope. Not at all. I lied without blinking an eye. You better be. So come on, tell me why you are late. She demanded. There is a quote I read recently, work hard today to not work tomorrow, and I was really moved by it. So yesterday I studied like hell. Warning. Danger detected. The unknown boss is angered. As I was still in the middle of my explanation, I abruptly stopped and glanced at Ms. Hiratsuka because my intuition warned me. She had a distant look in her eyes for some reason. That's not, work hard today to not work tomorrow, Hikigaya. It is, work hard today for a better tomorrow. She said it in a deep voice, spelling it out clearly for me. Is it now? But. With an ignorant look, I denied her claim. Aren't they essentially the same? What's the big deal? But I was interrupted as Ms. Hiratsuka's fist came at me at a fast pace, aimed at my liver with precise accuracy. Warning. Attack incoming. Phewish. Already having decided what to do if such a situation were to occur, I prepared myself to dodge the punch to my left, blocking her trajectory. But to my surprise, the punch stopped before it hit. A written apology by lunchtime, if not. Ms. Hiratsuka made threats in a menacing tone. Feeling the weight of her words and observing her serious demeanor, I gave in. Yes. That's good. She complimented. But you better not regret this, Ms. Hiratsuka. I will write a written apology, one that you will not forget for a long time. I thought to myself while this time I carefully controlled my expression, making sure not to show any of my true thoughts. Then she clacked her heels against the floor and faced the classroom's back door while completely ignoring my presence. I followed her gaze and noticed a lone female student standing there with her school bag in hand. Kawasaki Saki. Isn't she the girl the former me in this series proposed to in the most awkward way possible, without even realizing it himself? Gotta say she is quite the looker. I mean, she has good curves. She even has a certain charm to her movements, and the air she carries around her is almost identical to Yukinoshita. However, she definitely falls way short of standing on an equal footing with her. Or maybe I am simply being biased. I mean, like, I care. 1. Kawasaki Saki. Are you fashionably late too? Ms. Hiratsuka called out to her with a wry smile on her face. However, the girl named Kawasaki Saki only answered with a silent bob on her head. Then she walked right past me and made for her seat. And at that moment, something clicked in my head. So no return apology. Or no super ultra fast punch to the stomach this time, Ms. Hiratsuka. I deem justice. I am always a believer in equality. How unfair, Ms. Hiratsuka, a person of your status, treating your students with discrimination. Hearing my nagging towards Ms. Hiratsuka and understanding it was regarding her, Kawasaki stopped in her tracks and turned back casually, looking over her shoulder at me. You have something to say? I asked nonchalantly, watching her stare at me. Not replying to my question, she left with a disinterested and mildly annoyed look. Yet, I am not interested in you either. The feeling is mutual. Chapter 34, Bookstore. Continuation. Same day. Hachiman's POV. Betrayer of trust. My partner, you have deceived me. Zamokusa launched his usual overly dramatic statement at me. He continued. This is not the sacred haven you vowed to guide me. The existence of this filthy place mocks the very essence of my sanctity. This unholy land is corrupted with evil miasma. Each breath I draw feels like a dagger tearing through the fabric of my soul. His words were filled with righteous indignation and disgust. Heads up. In reality, the so-called sacred haven was just a manga store in Zamokusa's vocabulary, and the unholy land he spoke of was simply a bookstore where I had brought him. Well, no wonder he sucks at writing. He began to add. The air itself is poisoned wit. Stop the nonsense, you fu *cur. Unable to contain my annoyance any longer, I interrupted his rambling and scolded him. Man, I think this is really a bad idea. And what do you mean by tricking you? I never said we were going to a manga store. You are the one who assumed wrongly. I retorted. Well, it is true. I didn't deceive him, but I also never mentioned it was going to be a normal academic-related bookstore either. All I said was that I would take you to a place to improve your writing filled with books, which helps broaden your horizons. I tried reasoning with him. But now I rethink it. I guess for a freak like him, it more or less translates to a manga store. Now I can't say I didn't trick him. Can I? How could this unholy land help me improve as a writer? He scoffed at me, as if I were the one who lacked intelligence. Come on, isn't that basic? If your Japanese literature increases, that, of course, will transform into your writing. I explained like I do with a 3-year-old child. Even so. But he was still stubbornly against the idea. God, I am already in a sour mood for being ditched like an idiot. Now this? Cut the bullshit and pick up the books you are interested in. I huffed as I grabbed a book for myself from the shelf. But I have no interest in anything here. Though grumbling, Zamokusa reluctantly complied with my request and started to search through the shelf to find a book to his liking. Which I hope he does find. While he is at that, I hope he picks up a few books related to academics. I am not asking for too much now, am I? Anyway, finally some peaceful time. Oh, this book looks interesting. This too. Zamokusa suddenly shouted from beside. It looks like I let my guard down too soon. Honestly, I want to rest. I am too tired. I am not even interested in finding out what flipped him so abruptly. Today has been exhausting, beginning with oversleeping. Next, I endured a brief hour of Ms. Hirotsuka's lecture for being late. And then staying awake through the rest of the classes that unfolded in the usual boring way. Regarding the service club? Well, today we decided to take a day off. The reason? President's orders. At least that's what I was informed. But I know damn well that doesn't count as a proper reason. Yet. If you ask me, it is blatant disregard for the vice president aka me, of the club. What's even more irksome is that this message wasn't conveyed through a face-to-face conversation. Instead, Uegahama acted as a digital messenger on behalf of the president. Yet, even though we are in the same class, she texted me instead of saying it directly to me. Apparently, our so-called president lacks the courtesy to have my number or even share it when asked politely. Seriously, one instance of disrespect after another. Wouldn't it be more convenient to simply have my mobile number, Yukino? Why go through all this unnecessary hassle? Anyway, as the club is on break today, I have a lot of time in my hands. And as sleepy and tired as I am, instead of going straight home after school, I decided to stop by the bookstore in the Marinepia shopping center, strictly for academic purposes, mind you. But as I browsed through the shelves, I ended up purchasing more than I intended to. Again, they are related to gaming development. Oh, and Zamokusa also picked up some writing-related books, while I forced him to take a Japanese literature book too before leaving. After our visit to the bookstore, Zamokusa hastily departed, citing some vague excuse about having something to do. I chose not to press him on the obvious lie. After all, my main objective in bringing him along had already been achieved. My intentions were plain and simple. I needed to remind him to start preparing for the upcoming midterm exams, even though they were still some time away. Additionally, I wanted to encourage him to hone his writing skills. Surprised? Thought that I was joking? Well, I wasn't. Who knows? He might get busier in the future because I have some plans for him. These plans might be interesting to him, but they could also take up a lot of his time, and he might not be able to concentrate on studying. 1. I can't let him fail his exams because of these other things. Now, can I? What a good friend I am. Well, that sums up everything, I guess. Left alone, I made my way to the cafe, figuring it was as good a time as any to focus on my own studies. But it seemed everyone else was thinking the same thing because the place was crowded with students of all sorts. Just as I was thinking I should have gone home after all, I spotted some familiar faces. So they are here, huh? I wondered. This looks cute. Tatsuka Saika, wearing his signature jersey, was admiring a cake in the showcase. Does he train daily? I guessed after seeing him wearing the training jersey he wore during our second quest to help him improve his tennis skills. Although it's possible he just preferred wearing a jersey instead of our school uniform, it didn't matter which one you wore at our school. Pretty convenient, right? But I highly doubt that's what happened. My eyes moved on from him to the spot next to him in the cafe. Okay, it's your turn to ask a question next, Yukino, said another familiar face. Uegahama and Yukinoshita were making good use of their time while waiting for their orders and were deeply immersed in their studies. Right, here's the first question, then. Yukinoshita stated. Complete the phrase, when the going gets tough. It was some simple quiz questions, Hey? So, this is the reason the club was on break today. I guessed. Do trains on the Tokyo Chiba line shut down? Yukino answered hesitantly. And got the answer wrong too. The correct phrase is, when the going gets tough, these days, there are more trains that slow down without stopping. Incorrect. At this mistake, Yukinoshita's face clouded over too, just as you would expect of her. Nonetheless, she moved on. Next question, then. This one is more about geography. Name 2 local specialties from Chiba. Yukino. Tick-tock-tock. The hands of the clock ticked away as seconds flew by. Asterisk gulp, Yukino nervously gulped. I think something really stupid is about to come from her mouth. Miso peas, and boiled peas. She had a deadly, serious look on her face. Again, incorrect. Like completely. Is she even a Japanese citizen? At that, I stepped in and asked. Hey, do you really think all we grow in Chiba is peas? Whoa. Yukino jumped. Realizing it was just me, she said. Oh, it's just Hiki. For a moment there, I thought you were some creep trying to hit on us. 2. Did she just call me a creep? Chapter 35, Irritation. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. At that, I stepped in and asked. Hey, do you really think all we grow in Chiba is peas? Whoa. Yukino jumped. Realizing it was just me, she said. Oh, it's just Hiki. For a moment there, I thought you were some creep trying to hit on us. Did she just call me a creep? Totsuka turned to face me, and his face lit up with a bright smile. Hachiman. So you were invited to this study group too? Nope. I wasn't. Yukino had a sour look on her face, saying, oh, shoot. I didn't invite him. Why is he here? At least try to mask your expression, girl. That's the least you could do in times like this. Hikigaya. You were not invited. Yukinoshita stated matter-of-factly, her tone cool and collected. Is there something you want? Oh, you are here, President. I teased, trying to sound sly and pretending to be excited, as if I had just found out. I thought it was someone else for a moment, considering you're so busy today with something important. My teasing tone turned to a whining one, and I am pretty sure both of us knew why. Am I throwing a tantrum like a brat? I don't know. But what they have done to me today is really mean. 1. I couldn't resist adding a complaint. And also, stop confirming the facts for the sole purpose of making someone feel bad. Caught off guard by my sudden expression of discontent about being excluded, everyone's attention shifted towards me. Observing their reaction, a realization hit me. Not being invited or even given a heads up bothered me more than I had initially thought. Maybe even a little sad. Unfazed, or perhaps intentionally indifferent, I took a seat beside Totsuka. Make yourself comfortable, Hikigaya. Totsuka scooted over to make room for me with a smile on his face. 1. Well, at least someone is genuinely happy to see me. As I settled in and observed everyone's reactions, the atmosphere was thick with awkwardness. Another troubling realization began to dawn on me. I messed up. This really wasn't what I intended, but the moment I laid eyes on Yukinoshita, I couldn't shake off my dissatisfaction with the current situation. Whatever. It is what it is now. I already displayed my emotions without holding back. So what are you doing here, Hikigaya? Yukinoshita questioned with an air of neutrality, seemingly unaffected by the tension, which only irked me further. You guys are the ones who invaded my hideout. So I should be the one asking that, Ms. President. I retorted, providing the flimsiest excuse. However, my statement does hold some truth to it, as I visit this place quite often and most high school students do. So I guess I can't completely call this my personal hideout, but who cares about details like that now? But as expected, Yukinoshita didn't appreciate my reasoning. Annoyance flickered in her gaze as she stared at me, and I reciprocated with equal irritation. Yet, irritation my emotions evolved in this small time frame. The reason is simple, Yukinoshita. I could see it clearly. She was the least bit apologetic about this scenario. This really didn't sit right with me. There is a reason why Yukino didn't see any need to feel apologetic towards Hachiman. And truthfully, if Hachiman knew why, he would be over the moon and, simultaneously, curse himself to death for his impulsive behavior. The club didn't convene today, not because of the study session, but thanks to Hachiman himself. His night was a disaster, and his attempt to look presentable in class was an epic fail. It was a lot worse than he had actually imagined. This is also why Ms. Hirotsuka refrained from hitting him at the last moment, not because she felt sorry for him. Surprisingly, even the usually clueless Yui picked up on something being off about him, for better or worse, that is. When questioned by Yui, Hachiman, in his trademark grumpy style, complained about not catching enough rest. As it was, Yui shared her observation with Yukino, who then revealed details about a study session at a cafe. That's when they collectively decided to keep Hachiman out of the loop to spare him from more trouble. Yukino's consideration of this situation makes it clear she wasn't wrong. So, does it justify her annoyance? Hachiman's POV. After a brief but intense staring contest, Yukinoshita averted her gaze with visible irritation. It baffled me how she could be worked up, when, in my mind, I was the one with a right to be angry. Silence hung in the air. No one spoke for a moment. Even Totsuka, initially clueless about the happenings, now seemed to have caught up and become aware of something weird. He glanced between Yukinoshita and me with a worried expression, like a sheep trapped in a crossfire between two tigers. Admittedly, Yuigahama also seemed hesitant to speak up, as if fearing to get bashed up from either side of our clash. Huff you. Realizing the need to diffuse the tension, I sighed inwardly. I needed to stop now and perhaps choose a more appropriate time and place for such discussions. I better do so. Attempting to steer the conversation away from the brewing conflict, Yuigahama finally spoke up in an attempt to change the topic. What's that? She pointed to the bag I was carrying, feigning curiosity. Is this her way of changing the subject? Not too bad, I guess. Just a couple of books. I replied, trying to go back to my usual expression. Oh, you are already studying for exams, hey. Yuigahama exclaimed in surprise, furrowing her eyebrows. But don't you think there are too many books? Why are you surprised? Isn't that also what you're doing? They are not just for exams. I bought a couple of other books. I corrected her. Still, though. Yuigahama trailed off, clearly unconvinced, as the tension in the room eventually lightened. Yep. Sometimes being dumb helps, I guess. Well, I am aiming for a scholarship from a prep school. I explained, hoping that would put an end to her questioning. What scrap? Yuigahama repeated. He said scholarship. A scholarship is when you receive a money grant or financial aid for your studies. Yukinoshita clarified, as she often did. Prep schools these days are granting scholarships to good students, exempting them from paying tuition fees. I explained. Basically, if I get a scholarship and get the tuition money from my parents, that money will be mine. It is not that I don't have money on hand, but hey, one should never say no to money. We don't know when it may come in handy. Moreover, I couldn't resist leaving out a chance to rob my father in bright daylight. Isn't that fraud? Yuigahama exclaimed. B*TCH. Who are you calling a fraud? Yukinoshita said scathingly. Well, technically, there is no issue since you can't claim he is going against his parents by adopting a results-oriented approach to his studies. It simply comes down to the matter of a prep school accepting a scholarship student. Look who finally decided to break their silence. I have to give her credit for seamlessly joining the conversation without disrupting the flow. Is this her way of suggesting, let's move on? According to this boy's twisted personality, you cannot by any means call it fraud. She added her tone, dripping with disdain. There you go, her trademark insults at the end. Yukinoshita. You really know me well. I was amazed by her understanding of me. I will play along for now, but don't assume I have forgiven you, Yukinoshita. Your compliment doesn't fit well with me. She retorted coolly, unfazed by my comment. Oh, it's Big Brother. Kamiki. 3. Hey? Kamiki? Chapter 36, 4th Quest. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. According to this boy's twisted personality, you cannot by any means call it fraud. She added her tone, dripping with disdain. There you go, her trademark insults at the end. Yukinoshita. You really know me well. I remarked, genuinely impressed with her understanding of me. I will play along for now, but don't assume I have forgiven you, Yukinoshita. Your compliment doesn't fit well with me. She retorted coolly, unfazed by my comment. As I geared up for a strong comeback, something unexpected happened. Oh, it's Big Brother. A voice of a cute little girl cut through our conversation. I turned in the direction of the voice and saw my sister, Hikigaya Komaki, clad in her middle school uniform, waving at me with a cheerful smile lighting up her face as she entered through the door. I also happened to glaze at the figure beside her, which I ignored for now. Hey? Komaki! I uttered, thrown off guard by her sudden appearance. As she reached me, I demanded. Komaki! What are you doing here? My friend was asking for some advice. She explained, gesturing towards the figure beside her. In the same middle school uniform as her. Advice? What advice? Hold on a second. Isn't this an odd group, a total of 6 people, including me Hachiman, Yukinoshita, Yuigahama, Tatsuka, Komaki, and lastly, the kid beside her. Doesn't this setup ring a bell? Have I seen anything like this before? And that kid? The one I initially brushed off a second ago. Have I crossed paths with him? He seems oddly familiar, especially with that distinct silver hair. Ah, got it. Kawasaki Saki. Hello. The figure quickly ducked its head and bowed in my direction. I quietly eyed it, warily, from top to bottom, without thinking. Just why was this brat only asking for help from Komaki? Aren't there any other friends? He looks decent enough to have more friends. Should I dispose of it? Hikigaya. He is a human in flesh, just like any. So stop looking at him like that. With her voice, Yukinoshita nudged me. Whelp. Not here. Right. I spoke in a monotone voice as I signaled for Komaki to have a seat. Hi there. I am Hikigaya Komaki. Thanks for looking out for my brother. Komaki greeted them with a knowing smile. Since she was little, she has had a unique skill adaptability, that enabled her to fit right in wherever she went. It was a trait that never failed to surprise me. 1. You are Hachiman's younger sister. Tatsuka chimed in politely. Pleased to meet you. I am his classmate. My name's Tatsuka Saika. Oh, you are so polite, how charming. And, oh my, what a cutie. Right, brother. Komaki nudged me teasingly, as if wondering why I never mentioned having such a cute friend. Well, the same ever misconception. I grunted. Sure. Except he is a guy. Oh stop. Haha. Funny joke. Ha ha ha, what are you saying, my big brother? Komaki patted me back and forth playfully, assuming I was being silly. I am a boy. Tatsuka spoke up timidly, blushing slightly as he turned away. No dude. Don't say it like that. You are making it even harder for her to believe my words. Wait, seriously. Komaki's eyes widened in disbelief. No surprise there, I guess. Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. Yuigahama introduced herself from beside. I am Hiki's classmate, Ui. Yuigahama Ui. Oh, cool. Pleasure. Komaki responded with enthusiasm, but her reaction suddenly shifted as she eyed Yuigahama with a doubtful expression. Hey, stare. It seemed like Komaki was trying to place where she had seen her before. Did she recognize Yuigahama? No, not now. I didn't prepare for that, not like I would ever have, but now is definitely not the right time. Sensing trouble brewing, I shot a glance at Yukinoshita, who sighed in resignation through her eyes as she seemed to say, "You're such a bother." But I suppose it's understandable. Yukinoshita had no idea what I was trying to achieve, except for the fact that I told her to do something or intervene. Are you done yet? Nonetheless, Yukinoshita complied with my request and interjected calmly, having waited patiently for quite some time. Yet. Komaki was startled. It was remarkable how just the sound of her voice made Yuigahama and Komaki cease their staring match and redirect their attention to her. Pleased to meet you. I am Yukinoshita Yukino. Hikigaya's club mate. I couldn't help but notice the slight improvement in her choice of words. Clubmate was certainly preferable to total stranger. Yukinoshita Yukino. Komaki's brow furrowed, indicating that she was trying to recall the name. Then, realization seemed to dawn on her. Ah, you are the one who gave those cookies and recipe. Thank you. They were really delicious and helped me a lot. I will definitely make them for you one day. Also, you must be the president of the service club. Big brother spoke a lot about you. She added with a mischievous glint in her eye, causing everyone to turn their attention towards me, especially Yukinoshita. Idiot. Don't purposely make it sound weird. I interjected, feeling the need to clarify. Teehee, am I now? 1. Stop playing dumb. Ignoring our banter, Yukinoshita expressed. Kamaki, right? I appreciate your words, and I am happy you found the recipe helpful. Then, turning her attention back to me, she asked with a hint of curiosity. However, I am curious about what he talks about, particularly me, that is. I mean, I do believe he is conscious enough to not bring his vicious thoughts in front of his sister. Kamaki explained, clearly amused by the situation. Ah, it's mostly about your club activities and him whining about how he could have been vice president if it weren't for you. My dear little sister, that was very unnecessary information. Well, that's pathetic, Hikigaya. Aren't you ashamed of complaining to your sister? Yukinoshita's words were tinged with a hint of sarcasm. I felt the need to defend myself. Hey, don't accuse me of a false case. I never complained. I doubt that. Yukinoshita shot back at me. Komaki, seemingly oblivious to the exchange, chimed in with a good-natured comment. Hehe, I think I have a pretty good idea of the kind of relationship you two have. Yuh. Just then, another figure entered the conversation with a polite greeting. Excuse me. He continued to get everyone's attention as he introduced himself. I am Kawasaki Taishi. I go to the same school as Hikigaya. And like you guys, my sister goes to Shibuya High. Her name is Kawasaki Saki. Kawasaki Saki. So I was right. Is this that event already? I wondered about realizing it. Anyway, Kawasaki Taishi, hey? I must say that he does have determination pouring out of him and displayed some impressive communicative powers when he introduced himself, being an NPC. I mean, he spoke in front of Yukino. Uegahama expressed, right after Taishi. Ooh. Kawasaki, right? She is kinda of scary looking. Not the best thing to say in front of her brother, Uegahama. You're not friends? I asked her. Well, I guess I have talked with her, but... Uegahama replied delicately. She then shot back. You know? You really shouldn't ask a girl that. It puts us in a hard position. That has nothing to do with me. I didn't care about that female circle stuff. I replied bluntly. Anyway, from the way you spoke, it didn't seem like your group had a particularly good rapport with Kawasaki. Hey, now. She protested again and clearly didn't like my phrasing. Why are you worrying now? When the damage is already done. In fact, I don't think I actually ever saw Kawasaki get along with anyone in the class. Tatsuka made a side comment. Komaki informed us further. Not only that. It seems like Taishi's older sister turned into a delinquent. Like coming home late and stuff. So he brought me here for us to try and figure out how to get his sister back to normal. So when did you notice all this starting for her? Suddenly, Yukinoshita asked Taishi. He reacted with a startle. Why yes That's Yukinoshita for you. He is definitely not as calm as he shows outside. But he provided the details. Only recently and after she got into Shibuya High. She was a model student back in middle school and was always nice back then. She didn't change much even when she was in her first year of high school, she changed only very recently. Recently, isn't it when Hiki returned to school? Uegahama chimed in. Hearing her comment, everyone looked at me with suspicious eyes. Even my sister, and Yukinoshita too. Hey, I got nothing to do with that. And you all know that. I resorted with an annoyed look. Then Taishi went on to answer the barrage of questions from Yukinoshita and Uegahama. How late does she come back? How often does she leave the house? Taishi also explained his family situation, where both his parents work while they have to take care of a younger brother and sister. How his sister often gets a few phone calls from an uncanny place. Understood. After listening intently, Yukinoshita nodded as she received approximately everything she needed. In other words, our only option is to simultaneously treat the symptoms and eradicate the root source. She summarized, her tone determined and resolute. Eradicate, hey? Are you planning to do something? I asked, curious about her intentions. You have something to say? She turned toward me. Kawasaki Taishi is the younger brother of Kawasaki Saki, a student at our school. Furthermore, he is asking for help for her sake. I believe it is within the service club's line of work. No, it certainly does not. Big brother. Someone poked me incessantly in the back. When I turned around, Komaki was smiling broadly at me. Thrust piercing my heart. Her smile had this uncanny ability to pierce straight through my defenses, like a dagger into my heart. It was the almighty Komaki smile. The one she wore whenever she wanted me to do something for her. And, honestly, I had no way to defend against it. But that didn't mean I couldn't express my opinion. Yukinoshita, if you ask me, I really don't want our club to be involved in this matter. I believe Kawasaki Saki is an independent individual with every right to choose how she wants to live. We are practically strangers and have no business meddling in her affairs. I began tentatively, voicing my concerns. However, I know you have considered this before deciding to help her. So, as reluctant as I am, I will lend a hand. But you do know what you are getting yourself and the club caught up in, right? I added cautiously. That's dumb, Hiki. If you're agreeing to help in the end, why say it? Yuagahama commented, with her usual straightforwardness. You foolish girl, you wouldn't understand even if I explained, so just zip it. Yukinoshita simply nodded positively, acknowledging my confirmation. To be continued. Author reminder, 20+ chapters advance in Patreon. patreon.com/writebrothers. Comment. 3 comment. Vote. 1 left. Chapter 37, Kamakura, aka Kai. Continuation. Next day. Hachiman's POV. True to our commitment from yesterday, the next day, we all gathered in the clubroom after school to kick off our fourth quest, Saki Kawasaki's rehabilitation program. In addition to the regular trio of service club, Yukinoshita, Yuagahama, and myself, there is Tatsuka, who also joined the quest. Curious as to why he showed up, upon being inquired about by Yuagahama, Tatsuka simply explained that he felt a sense of duty to assist, having been present during our discussion the day before. What an innocent soul he is! Truly. Well, it's no big matter. But what does matter is that, in normal situations, club activities should be suspended during the midterms. Except for us, that is. So we are working overtime on this quest. Anyway, after some discussion, Yukinoshita decided to try animal therapy to bring the once straight-laced and kind-hearted sister of Kawasaki's household out. And so I found myself calling Komaki to bring in our cat. I mean, literally, cat. The reason behind my stress is that Yukinoshita specifically wanted a cat. It was pretty cute seeing her try to keep secrecy about her liking for them, saying, dogs are a no-go, while she insisted, cats are more likable. On phone. Ring, ring. Beep picked up. Yees, this is Komaki. Komaki answered. I asked. Oh, Komaki. Are you at home right now? Yep, I am. What of it? She answered in her usual chipper tone. It's about the Kamakura cat. Sorry, but could you bring him to our school? Hey? Why? Kai again, cat is heavy, so I don't wanna. Komaki protested. Kai is the name of our cat. Well, his full name is Kamakura. But because that was too much of a mouthful, it got shortened at some point. Yet, he's a bit on the heavy side. In fact, his name Kamakura originated from how round, like a Kamakura snow hut, he was. You see, Yukinoshita said to bring him. I'll be right there. Komaki agreed. Beep, cut off. The phone abruptly cut off. Damn, her attitude changed as soon as I mentioned Yukino. She'd been so reluctant when I asked. Save some face for your brother, Komaki. I thought, but I didn't say it out loud. Instead, I quickly glanced around to make sure no one heard my unspoken remark. I am telling you, she isn't usually like this, well, mostly. And, well, at least she is coming, I guess. I was even prepared to bribe her. I thought loudly, putting away my phone, satisfied that she would be here soon. We waited outside the school gates for 20 minutes, upon which Komaki appeared with a carry casket in hand. Sorry for dragging you out here. Yukinoshita apologized. No, no, I am happy to do it for you, Yukino. Komaki replied cheerfully, opening the lid of her carry bag. Kamakura, tucked inside, emerged and surveyed us from his perch. The little guy wasted no time. As soon as he emerged, his jet-black eyes roamed across our faces, taking in each of us with a curious intensity. It was undeniably cute as his gaze shifted from one person to the next, as if assessing each of us in turn. And finally, spotting me, seemingly satisfied, he strolled over. He quickly jumped out and nestled himself beside me, his fur soft against my leg as he leaned in for a gentle nuzzle. Hehe, I trained this guy well for the past few months. Kamakura, my mate, you have definitely earned an extra fish this time. Big brother, he missed you. Komaki chimed in. It actually likes Hiki. Uegahama exclaimed. Ah, he's so cute, Hachiman. Totsuka joined in. There was a silent acknowledgement from Yukinoshita, perhaps a bit of jealousy in her gaze. Do I need to specify who said those comments to me among the 4 individuals present here? And don't forget, silent jealousy looks, which I would have celebrated if it were for another reason. However, for now, all I could scream in my mind was, stop looking at me like that and just own a cat yourself, girl. Wait. I could simply gift her in the future. Hehe. So, what are you gonna do with him? I questioned, picking up Kamakura by the scruff of his neck from below. Incidentally, that is the wrong way to hold a cat. The best way is to cradle it in your arms. But my relationship with Kamakura has improved since our heart-to-heart conversation a few months ago, and I know he likes me now. In fact, we are the closest in Hikigaya's household. We will put him in a cardboard box and leave him in front of Kawasaki. Yukinoshita explained. She added. I am sure Kawasaki will pick him up if her heart is moved. That's such an old-fashioned trick, Yukinoshita. Yukinoshita, mind you, Kamakura is not a stray cat. He already has an owner, which is me, of course. What am I supposed to do if she decides to take him in? Komaki, for sure, is going to kill me. I objected to raising a possibility if the plan were to somehow succeed. She responded. Then you bought the cat, hoping she wouldn't pick it up. Yet. I confirmed. Stop jinxing Yukino's plan before it even begins. Uegahama splashed at me. Whatever. I will just bring some cardboard. I declared as I pushed Kamakura towards Yukinoshita. Anyhow, when I did that, Uegahama, standing beside her, subtly stepped back, a move only I caught. Well, Yukinoshita probably noticed it too, but I chose not to point it out. Don't you know cats are usually not comfortable around strangers? Yukinoshita warned, although her hands betrayed her desire to cuddle Kamakura. Just take him already. I replied, walking off and pushing him into her arms. Hey! She held him with care, fearing he might fall. Hikigaya! Don't play around. Ensuring Kamakura's safety, Yukinoshita scolded me, to which I didn't bother to reply. What does she think of me? A kid who causes trouble wherever I go? I scoffed angrily in my mind. Third-person view. Hikigaya! Don't play around. Ensuring Kamakura's safety, Yukino scolded Hachiman, who simply walked away. Observing Hachiman's lazy and carefree stride, with his figure gradually disappearing, she doubted whether he would truly heed her words. He is getting really out of hand lately. And Yukino felt like it would only get harder to keep him in line, and she worried that he might push back even harder every time, and no, she wasn't referring to the current situation with the cat, but their overall relationship. She is not a child. She recognizes the way he treats her and acts around her, and she doesn't know how much longer she can tolerate it. All she could do was act more coldly and not react to his antics. But that thought didn't linger in her mind long as she focused more on the cat in her hands. Don't worry, Yukino, look, Kai is comfortable in your hands. Komaki reassured her with a smile. Purr. Just as she said that, Kamakura suddenly let out a sound as if he were in a good mood. Is he not the aggressive type? Yukino asked, gently stroking her hands on the cat. As Komaki and Yukino spoke, Yui kept her distance, which was unusual for her. Nah, actually, he really is not comfortable with strangers. But since it is my big brother who gave him to you, he knows he is safe. Komaki explained. Is it? It's hard to believe there is someone who trusts Hikigaya that much. Yukino mused. 1. Yet, it is Komaki agreed. Hey Yukinen, I will go help Hiki. I think I know where the cardboard is. Yui suddenly injected, hurriedly excusing herself. Hachiman's POV. After successfully scoring some huge points in Yukinoshita's books, I paced around, searching for cardboard in the direction of the office. I am here to help. Just then, Yui's voice came up from behind me. I turned to face her. You don't need to. I added. It is a simple task of finding a decent cardboard box. Yukigahama commented skeptically. You think so? I heard that cats had boxes they liked and boxes they hated. She had a point. Cats had their own preferences when it came to cardboard. Is she knowledgeable about cats? Then what's with her reaction earlier? As if she was afraid. Yeah, but Kamakura is okay with most varieties. I said, keeping my thoughts to myself. Hey, I observed, you always seem to call him by his full name, unlike Kamaki. She pointed it out. She is unusually observant. Yes. That's an unwritten contract between us, a sign of mutual respect. 1. True. During my fake rehabilitation at home during my first year, I became close with Kamakura, as we were the only ones the whole day together. Many discussions happened, and we gradually made a few agreements, alliances, and became close. The thing that bonded us the closest is that we have a common enemy in the house. And it was enough. Author, guess who? 3. Hee, that's weird, Hiki. But you really seem to like cats. Yukigahama giggled. Not specifically all cats, but yes, I do like Kamakura. I clarified. I asked casually. You don't seem like a cat person. No. I really don't hate cats. Yukigahama responded quickly, waving her hands. I never said you hated them, though. Well, I don't really care either way. I replied nonchalantly. Even though Yukinoshita didn't say it, she is definitely not good with dogs, and similarly, I don't really like bugs myself. I said. Yeah, I really hate bugs. I mean, once even the great bald man had trouble dealing with it. 6. Yukigahama once again explained. No, I mean, I really don't hate cats. I think they're cute. So? You got a cat allergy or something? I quizzed her. That's not it, you see, my cat ran away, you know? That's why I kinda get sad about it. Yukigahama spoke meekly, the exact opposite of her usual cheerfulness. Apparently, Yukigahama kept a stray cat without telling her parents when she used to live in a multi-apartment complex. But at some point, it went away. In those circumstances, it is very easy to imagine how her younger self would have thought of that separation. It must have felt like a betrayal. But the girl she was today knew why. The thing is, there is a theory that a cat leaves its owner when it's about to die. 2. Maybe now she's filled with regrets about that incident and finds it challenging to picture having a cat as a pet once again. Silently, without uttering a single word to each other, we carried the cardboard between us. It wasn't even that heavy. Nevertheless, one thing is crystal clear, she made an effort to emphasize that her feelings toward cats are akin to mine, or at the very least, not opposing. It was almost as if I caught a glimpse of her emotions. Oh yeah, cat allergy? I pondered. On my way back to Yukinoshita and Kamaki, I suddenly remembered something from my conversation with Yukigahama. Why didn't this cross my mind before? It suddenly dawned on me why Yukinoshita's plan for animal therapy did not work out as expected in the plot. From the start, I knew how the next 2 operations would play out. Well, for most of the parts. But not this one. However, if I bring up this new piece of information now, I might be questioned about its source. More than that, I will be in Yukinoshita's firing range for not informing her beforehand, let alone being appreciated. So yeah, let's bury this truth with me. Chapter 38, Maid Cafe Angel. Continuation. Same day. After some time. Hachiman's POV. Plan A, Operation Animal Therapy. Result, failed even before commencing. Reason, Kawasaki has a cat allergy. Yet, Operation Animal Therapy had failed. No surprise there. We had abandoned it midway after receiving a call from Taishi, who found out about our plan from Kamaki. For now, not in the mood of revealing the solution I have that could put an end to this quest, I looked to Yukinoshita. In response, she let out a soft sigh. Now then, what are we gonna do? We gotta think of something. Totsuka timidly raised his hand and looked at both Yukinoshita and Uegahama with uncertainty. It seemed like he wanted to contribute but wasn't sure how. Go ahead. Yukinoshita encouraged him reassuringly. I don't mind if you speak your mind. It would help us all out. Okay then. Totsuka smiled in reverence. So, how about you tell Ms. Hiratsuka about it? I think she might be too close to her parents to tell them about her problems. But if she were talking to another adult, she might be able to confront her problems, maybe. And that's how Plan B was formed. After some time. Plan B, counseling session with an adult. Result, failed mercifully. Reason, Ms. Hiratsuka's single status. Well, mostly. You gave it your all. I watched Ms. Hiratsuka's solitary figure stumble into the distance with a morning look because of being reminded of her plain life by her own student. The afternoon sun's glow pierced my eyes, prompting imaginary tears. Is this the end of the world? In moments like this, I reflect on the choices of men in this world and question their taste. I mean, sure, she might be a bit impulsive, but to leave her single. Maybe I should try to set her up on a date. Yet, now that I think about it, there is indeed a person who comes to mind immediately, someone who I believe deserves to walk hand in hand with this beauty. He must still be single, right? What am I even doubting? Such a disgrace of a friend I am. Of course, he is still single. He definitely should, given his track record with women. Even then, I do think it is going to be a pretty long shot. So I shouldn't be getting ahead of myself, though the idea does appeal to me. Combining Ms. Hiratsuka's fiery temperament with his clumsy yet honest and upright nature is going to be one hell of a duo. I deserve praise and acknowledgement for being a model student, a good friend, or perhaps a colleague, whatever. I think I will soon add title, matchmaker to my status bar, who helped bring two amazing people together. Coming back to the progression of quest. An hour after Ms. Hiratsuka disappeared into the evening sun and became a single glittering star in the night sky, we found ourselves at Chiba Station. I asked Komaka to take Kamakura home, as it was too soon for a middle school student like her to be wandering around Chiba's busy central business district. The time was already close to 1930. It was around this time that the city became bustling with nightly activity. So, you are saying that Kawasaki got a call from the manager of a cafe called Angel something? Yukinoshita inquired. Yeah. I confirmed and gave the details. When I searched around for stores inside Chiba's central business district that are open until the early hours of the morning with Angel in their names, I only came across two. And this is one of those places. Yukinoshita looked suspiciously at the neon lights shining on a sign with Maid Cafe Angel written on it. On the side, there were even illustrations of a beckoning girl with cat ears that read, "Welcome back, woof." What the hell is this? Was written all over Yukinoshita's face. I am embarrassed to say this, but I don't know much about maid cafes. What are they like? Totsuka scrutinized the lettering on the sign over and over again, but he couldn't make sense of it. There is nothing wrong with not knowing a place like this, Totsuka, said Yukinoshita skeptically. On the contrary, we need to doubt the true nature of those who are actually aware of this place's existence. As she spoke the last phrase, she gave me a meaningful look, as if asking, what category do you fall into? I smell jealousy somewhere again? Hey, I don't know much about them either. I said it in a whining way. And stop accusing me for every damn thing already. You don't? Then how do you plan on moving forward with the mission? Yukinoshita said it with a disappointed tone. So, this is my fault too, hey? She is getting sly these days, isn't she? No worries, I will get my revenge one day. Just wait and see, Yukino. That's why I decided to invite someone who does. I admitted. And just as if on cue, waiting for the perfect hero entry. Waham! Zamokusa Yoshiteru burst onto the scene with a dramatic pose and imaginary spotlights behind him. Maintaining the stance, he declared boldly. It appears that my time has finally come. Ew, seriously? Uegahama grimaced slightly disgustingly. It was you who invited me. Why are you making that face? Zamokusa demanded. I couldn't help but express my true thoughts. I was just thinking it would be a pain to deal with you. Zamokusa didn't seem to take offense, instead offering a solution. Then just follow me quietly to where we can just sit back and have maids pamper us. With a swift tug on his coat, he waved his arms mystically, causing the fabric to ripple in the wind. Fuge! Wind? I could clearly see his coat curling up. Wait! It was not some imaginary wind. There was a real breeze blowing around us. Does that mean he is speaking the truth? As if something had taken over me, my heart throbbed in anticipation of what those maids would do for me. They will pamper us. I instinctively took a step forward. It was one small step for mankind, one giant leap for me. Pull. But before I could take another step, someone yanked on my blazer from behind. Confused, I turned around to see Yukino gazing up at me with a sullen expression on her face. She said nothing for a moment. What is it? I demanded. I don't like this place. She kneaded my blazer incessantly with her fingertip, a mysteriously sullen expression on her face. Damn! That expression, again? She continued questioning. Besides, isn't this place where only guys go? What are we supposed to do? It seems they welcome girls here too. Yukinoshita, who had been a few steps away from us this whole time, pointed towards a sign that read Maid Cafe Angel. Taking this as my chance to escape Yukino's hold, I quickly walked over to where she was pointing and examined the letters she was pointing at. I saw it was indeed written there, girls are welcome to dress up as a maid. However, there is no need for them to enter. I mean, I am pretty tempted to look at Yukinoshita in maid cosplay, but I prefer if it were exclusive to me. And also, why waste time when this so-called Plan B was also destined to fail to begin with? So hardening my heart, I said. Actually, there is no need for you to come in. I will just go by myself with Zamokuza and check it out. I finished. If she is inside, I will ask her to talk after her shift ends. Not like we could have any proper conversation inside. Then why did you bring us along if you are going to go alone? Yukinoshita asked as if looking at the most annoying thing. For company during the trip. I replied defensively. There's no way I would take on this whole task alone. After 15 minutes. Plan C, infiltrating Kawasaki's working place. Result, failed. It was doomed to begin with. Reason, false information. Did you find anything? Yukinoshita asked me as I walked alongside Zamokuza into a small, normal cafe. We had just completed our detective work inside the maid cafe Angel and were now meeting up with Yukino, who had been waiting for us. Nothing. She does not appear to be in this shop. I explained, shaking my head. She might be just taking a day off. Yukino asked. No. I said firmly. Her name wasn't on the shift schedule. Considering how she received a call at her own home, we can rule out the possibility that she was using a false name. Since it was a maid cafe, it was pretty easy to get my hands on shift schedules, as a few customers here often visit only when particular individuals are in service. Frankly, I would be disappointed if I found Kawasaki Saki working here. As far as I know, she is not the type to work anywhere for some petty cash. Well, you really did good work, Hikigaya. I sure did. I boastingly nodded my head. Hiki, this is where you should disagree and be humble. Yukino added. Don't bother Yukino. Yukinoshita said, wrapping up our meeting. Let's call it off for today and meet up tomorrow in the club room after school. Yet. I agreed. It was getting considerably late, so it's better to continue tomorrow. Chapter 39, Hotel, Royal Okura. Continuation. Next day. Hachiman's POV. The day after our infiltration into the maid cafe, which resulted in another failed plan, the number of people gathered in the service club was a record high. Aside from the usual and obviously only club members, Yukinoshita, me, and Yukino, there were 3 extra people. It also wasn't so mysterious to see Totsuka and Zamokuza here since they visited us from time to time, but the last person's presence was a surprise. However, as unusual and mysterious as it was for him to be here, he blended into the surroundings without issue. What brought you here, Hayato? I inquired, looking at the same person. Hold on. I believe I already know the reason. Isn't he the scapegoat material required to meet the eligibility criteria for Plan C? He waved his hand in a self-effacing gesture. You see, Ui called me here. Yukino did. I turned around to see Yukino with her chest puffed up with pride for some reason. I say you absolutely deserve to take pride in this, Yukino. You do. Yep, I kinda thought about it, and don't you think there has to be some kinda reason Kawasaki changed? So I thought it would be good to get rid of the cause, but, like, that's kinda hard to do when no one tells us what that cause is, you know. Yeah, I guess. Hearing my half-assed agreement, Yukino puffed out her chest even further. I know, right? That's why we need to think of something to counter it. If she changed for the worse once, then we can change her for the better this time. So, why was it necessary to call Hayato? Yukinoshita spoke somewhat thornily, as if she did not think highly of Hayato's capabilities, which I absolutely like. Oh yeah, if you hadn't guessed yet, it was Hayato I was talking about earlier. Anyway, he seemed not to be particularly bothered by Yukinoshita's comment, and instead he turned his attention towards Yukino. You don't get it, Yukino. Yukino said. There is only one thing that will always make a girl change, that is, you know, love. Yukino was the most embarrassed of all of us, as she slowly blurted out the four-letter word while playing with her two index fingers. She stammered, trying to cover her embarrassment. Anyway. When you like someone, your whole world changes. I thought we should get someone who could trigger that reaction, so I called Hayato. I don't know why you thought of me. Hayato said this to Yukino with a strained smile. Oi, you bastard, if you don't even know why she thought of you, I will get even more pissed off at you. I could clearly read Zamokusa's thoughts, which were filled with curses towards Hayato, as he glared at him with chilling, venomous eyes at approximately the same moment I did. Hayato added. I am sure there are a lot of other guys who get along with girls. Even among us, isn't Totsuka quite popular? Oh, good, so Hayato is aware of his own popularity. I mean, no, I'll never forgive that asshole. Zamokusa's relevance in taking a step back from cursing Hayato was evident as he turned his head away. Me? I don't really know about that. Totsuka looked down, his face reddening. Yukino, upon seeing how Totsuka looked, folded her arms and pondered slightly. I think Sai is cute too, but I don't reckon he's Kawasaki type. The other guy here is, let's face it, Chiyuni is a Chiyuni. When did she nickname Zamokusa as Chiyuni? Was her brain unable to comprehend Chiyunibu and made it short? Yukino finished pointing at Hayato. That leaves only you. Oi, don't just casually leave me out. I interjected. In response, she turned bright red. Why Yuri out of the question, Hiki? 3. Again? Same expression. Just get over this plan already. I screamed in my mind. After some time. Plan D, love. Result, failed miserably. Reason, who cares? So it looks like I was rejected. Hayato laughed sheepishly. Oh, good Joe, PFFFFFT. I intended to offer words of comfort, but a snort escaped me uncontrollably. An unfamiliar sensation was kicking me in the stomach. In an attempt to stifle my laughter, I fought against the feeling that had come over me, but the guy next to me seemed to be on a rampage. Haha, wahahahaha. You got rejected. Rejected. Not such hot stuff after all, getting rejected. Wahahaha. Zamokusa roared into laughter. 1. You, Zamokusa, truly have no idea how to restrain yourself. Shut up already, Zamokusa pfft. I snorted loudly but still couldn't control my laughter in the end. 1. It's mean to laugh, you two. Totsuka told us off, looking as if he was trying very hard to hold back on his laughter himself. Zamokusa's bellowing laughter was infectious, and he just couldn't help himself. No, no. It's okay. It doesn't bother me, Totsuka. Hayato said, grimacing. Man, he is a nice guy. He helped us out despite his misgivings, and because of that, he had suffered humiliation. And yet he took it like the good sport he was. Cough, cough. Predictably enough, Zamokusa stifled his laughter as he considered Hayato's situation and coughed loudly instead. He came forward and patted Hayato on the back. Sir Hayama, you don't have to pretend to be so tough, pfft. Ha 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 ha. However, he failed to contain himself, just like me. Idiot. Quit it, Zamokusa. Stop making me laugh. Pfft. Hat! I scolded between fits of laughter. 1. As Zamokuza and I roared in laughter, Yuagahima's face stiffened. You guys are the worst. So this was a failure too, said Yukinoshita. It couldn't be helped. Tonight, we will try going to the other store. Yukinoshita has already started planning for our last option. Guess so. I wheezed. This was fun. It was the first time I would ever be glad to join the service club for another reason. Period. Same day. Hachiman's POV. It was 21:20, according to my wristwatch, and I was standing in front of Hotel Royal Okura. The bar, Angel Ladder, was on the top floor. It was the final store in Chiba's central business district with Angel in its name that operated until the early hours in the morning. As per Yuagahima's text message, our meetup was scheduled for the prime time of 21:30 right in front of the elevators. With a solid 10 minutes to spare, I strolled inside, slowly digesting how big it was. The soft glow emanating from the building made it look like it had dropped in from another world. Clearly, this was a stronghold not meant for the average high schooler. A fancy carpet was laid out in front of me. Was this some kind of Academy Awards setup? Nevertheless, suppressing the urge to gawk at my surroundings, I kept moving forward, paying attention to the hallway that led to the elevators. Ignoring a tempting sofa, I chose to lean casually against the wall. After all, to fit in at the Angel Ladder, you need stealth skills, or at least the ability to look like you belong in a place where high schoolers usually hesitate to go. Freaking hell, this place is a whole different league. I muttered to myself, fully aware that fitting in wasn't going to be a walk in the park. It kinda reminds me of the party I attended recently, which I wouldn't be calling my best experience. Feeling a bit suffocated, I tried to give my neck some space by adjusting my collar. Strangely, the outfit wasn't tight at all, it fit is just perfect. It was more about my brain playing tricks on me, making me feel out of place in this fancy spot. Oh, let me break down my look for you: a new jacket, a cool colored shirt with a black stand-up collar, formal ankle-length jeans, and some pointy leather shoes. Topped off with my fresh rectangular sunglasses, which are also new. Overall, it wasn't the sort of stuff I wore every day. My hair was even gelled and everything, courtesy of Hikigaya Komaki. In fact, she is the one who picked up a full set of new clothes currently present in my wardrobe. Despite that, Komaki went a bit wild, turning the whole house upside down to get me this look. So, apart from the shades, everything's her pick. But, gotta admit, I am looking pretty sharp right now. Sorry for the wait. Right after a minute or so, Yuagahima spotted me. She wore a crimson-red dress that traced a circuitous line around her neckline as her hair was tied up into a bun. 2. Overall, she looked like a beautiful, sweet-smelling lady rather than a teenage girl. In fact, I would probably be confused if she happened to act more composed. Where are the other two? Yukinoshita asked. She wore a jet black dress. The fabric of her dress exuded an air of unadulterated radiance, complementing the beauty of her pale skin, as white as virgin snow. 1. Her flare skirt, which went down to her knees, showed off her shapely legs. And what was even more bewitching was her fine, silky black hair. It was tied up in a single loose ponytail and fell down to her chest, looking like an ornament. There was no mistaking it whatsoever. It was Yukinoshita Yukino. And I have completely fallen. You look pretty. I complimented her. Hiki. Yuingama once again stuttered. While Yukinoshita simply stared. God, her poker face. A hint of blush on her cheeks right now would have been nice to see. Cough, I mean, you both look good in this outfit. Faking a cough, I commented. And as for Zamokuza and Tatsuka, they didn't have anything to meet the dress code. It was unfortunate, but it is what it is. I even attempted to lend them some of my outfits, which, unsurprisingly, didn't work out. Tatsuka was too short for them, and Zamokuza somehow managed to fall for my outfits. I see. Was the only reply I got from Yukino. Yet, unlike women, who luckily could almost fit in with each other's dresses, men don't have that luxury. If so, I could have let them borrow from my wardrobe, but one guy doesn't fit and the other guy is too big for my size of dress. So it can't be helped. I complained. No need for an explanation. I could see right through your intentions of bragging about your collection of clothes. However, I do wonder why you bought those, though. I mean, you don't have any friends to attend parties with. Yukinoshita did not miss a chance to stick me. What do you mean by any? Remind you that I do, in fact, have a few friends. Doesn't Zamoku's account as one? And there is him too. 1. And apart from that, there are a few more candidates I am contemplating in order to take our acquaintance to the level of friendship. Yep. I don't have many friends. But only for now. I bought them for future use. I replied confidently. Well, at least your confidence in making friends is admirable. Yukinoshita shook her head. While her words may seem like a compliment on the surface, they actually hint that my confidence might be all I have going for me, with a subtle challenge behind it. Anyone could see what you are getting at, Yukinoshita. Thank you. For now, I will take it as a compliment and forget about the rest. Chapter 40, Kawasaki Saki. Continuation. Hachiman's POV. Well, at least your confidence in making friends is admirable. Yukinoshita shook her head. While her words may seem like a compliment on the surface, they actually hint that my confidence might be all I have going for me, with a subtle challenge behind it. Anyone could see what you're getting at, Yukinoshita. Thanks, you. For now, I will take it as a compliment and forget about the rest. Well, then, shall we go? Yukinoshita pressed the elevator button. The light turned on with a ding, and the door opened noiselessly. Through the glass elevator, I could see a sweeping view of Tokyo Bay. The nighttime scenery of Makuhari was dotted with brilliant lights, cruising ships, cars rushing through the bayside city with their tail lights blinking, and high-rise buildings. When we arrived at the top floor, the door opened once again. A gentle, soothing light lay ahead. A lounge bar was spread out in front of us, obscured in darkness because of the dim candle lighting. F***CK. Is this where high-class people meet? On a stage lit up with spotlights, a white-skinned lady was playing a jazz number on the piano. She was probably an American. Foreigner equals American, after all. Stop gawking. Yukinoshita said it with a disdainful tone. I didn't bother responding, and she didn't appear interested in any excuses. We continued our stride forward. While Yukigahama, seemingly preoccupied with nerves, struggled to focus on anything else. Let's go that way. Yukinoshita directed, leading the way. With that, Yukinoshita, Yukigahama, and I began walking slowly in step with each other. When we passed through the open, heavy wooden door, we were instantly approached by a male waiter, and I waved my hand, indicating it wasn't necessary. Slowly, we guided ourselves to the bar counter in front of the edge of a glass window. There, polishing the glasses thoroughly, was a female bartender. She stood tall, straight, and perfectly composed. Her muted expression and sleep-deprived eyes matched the tone of this dimly lit bar. And she is Kawasaki Saki. She gave off a totally different impression than she did at school. Her long hair was tied up in a bun, she was dressed in a waiter outfit, and her movements were elegant and refined. Her listlessness was gone. Unaware of our identities, Kawasaki silently placed coasters and refreshers before us, and waited in silence. Probably to take our orders. I am well aware that we didn't come for casual hanging out, but having a drink or two didn't sound bad. Definitely better than diving straight into serious stuff. Yukinoshita seemed to be on the same page, and as for Yukigahama, let's just say she too seemed to agree. While Kawasaki waited patiently for our orders, treating us like unfamiliar patrons, I tried to say. Okay, give me a ma. Stump. Ouch. But my foot received an unexpected stomp that no one else saw because the table was in the way. Except for me, of course, and why wouldn't I notice it when I am the one feeling the pain? The hell? Who is that? Irritated, I turned to my side to identify the culprit. To my surprise, it was Yukinoshita. I was annoyed and wondered, what's her problem, and why is she using physical stuff? Yukinoshita met my gaze with a smile, silently conveying, idiot, order something else. I shot back a look that said, what's wrong with Max Coffee? Hickey. What happened? Yukigahama inquired, noticing my abrupt pause and the soreness on my face. Shake. Nothing. I replied, shaking my head. I will have a Perrier. Yukinoshita placed an order, showing no remorse. For the record, I had no clue what a Perrier was. I'll have the same thing. That was my intended response, but Yukigahama beat me to it. I groaned, fuming internally, but seriously, thinking, what was I supposed to say? Should I risk asking for a max coffee again? I imagined another hit to my legs and experienced the pain in real time. Maybe I should order something unusual, something I don't usually get or won't get in the future. Fuck it. And why wasn't I provided with a menu till now? What useless and poor management this place truly has. Hiki, what about you? Yukino reminded me. Cut me some slack, girl. Can't you see I am trying to focus here? With Yukino's reminder, I glanced at Yukinoshita. Understanding my predicament, she stepped in. He will have dry ginger ale. Yukinoshita replied on my behalf. With a small smile and a nod, Kawasaki got 3 champagne glasses ready and poured each drink smoothly before putting them on the coasters. After finishing with us, she began to move towards the counter to attend to her other tasks. Just before she could fully turn around, I called out in a low voice, making sure it stayed between the 4 of us. Kawasaki. I said it quietly. She turned around, looking at us with a slightly worried face. I am deeply sorry. Who might you? Interrupting her mid-sentence, I cut her off. Why? I just felt like it. This dry ginger stuff is more on the crispier side than it is on the sweet side, and this mild taste is jolting me up. I don't like it. It tastes like crap. I shared my honest thoughts, also shooting Yukinoshita a complaining look for ordering something like this. Kawasaki's expression instantly shifted from worry to displeasure. Wait. You are that late guy. Yukino, did you see that? Didn't I promise I would soon become famous? I can already see it coming true. That's when Kawasaki added to her previous statement. And of course, a person who would suddenly curse in class like an idiot at lunch wouldn't like something like this. That was rather unnecessary. I am impressed, Hikigaya. Yukinoshita remarked, her voice filled with admiration as she settled onto a stool. To be recognized by a classmate, is it due to her exceptional memory, or is your face just that unforgettable once glimpsed? Stop rubbing salt on my wound, Yukinoshita. Unforgettable, hey. I would wager $100. She meant it in a less than flattering manner. Don't misunderstand. I don't even know his name. Kawasaki emphasized, going out of her way to make it clear that she had no knowledge about me beyond my face and possibly being in the same class. You know I don't care about this stuff, right? I injected, looking at the 2 women, one actively claiming she doesn't know me and the other with her sarcastic compliments that I had grown accustomed to. And it appears I have succeeded in this, as incomplete as it may be, and we can already see the effect as Yukinoshita gets a little more serious. We found you, Kawasaki-saki. Yukinoshita declared. The tone of Kawasaki's face changed. Man, she makes it sound like she was caught in a bank robbery or something. Yukinoshita. Her expression was that of someone encountering a familiar foe. It was quite clearly antagonistic. And of course she is famous. Good evening. Whether she was aware of Kawasaki's feelings or not, Yukinoshita uttered the standard nighttime greeting coolly. The 2 of them exchanged gazes. They were as different as night and day. I got the feeling that sparks were crackling. Scary. Kawasaki's eyes narrowed harshly as she poured a drink for Yukino. Yo, sup? Yukino said lamely, as if succumbing to the pressure. Yukino. I didn't recognize you for a second. Yet. Said Yukino. He is Hiki from our class. Hachiman Hikigaya. Asterisk sigh. Kawasaki let out a sigh and offered a resigned smile. So, what brings you here?
Thanks for listening.